All right, we're live. This is an internship hangout. The guest is Ghost Webb, and actually we have a lot of Pensadians in here. They're all guests, but Ghost Webb won the intern. I'll let him tell you the Pensado Award he won. I'll let him tell you about it. Matter of fact, Ghost Webb, would you please introduce yourself?
Hey, I was drinking out of this thing too, man. It was tick. Yeah, so my name is Ghost Webb, Sacramento, California, and I've been doing audio professionally now for 3.5 years, going on 4 years.
Hold on one sec, Ghost. Someone has YouTube open, so when you talk, it's gonna we're gonna hear it.
Okay, it's closed.
Okay, now why did you win that award? What happened? What was so good? Tell us.
Well, according to Dave, it's because my my boss and mentor. I'm gonna show everybody who he is because I gotta pay homage real quick.
How's it going, guys?
That's Pete Rodriguez. He's the owner of the studio. So this guy right here, I bugged for probably 6 months, literally just to let me come into a studio session. Right. I called him once a week, every day, hounding him, just let me sit here. And eventually he let me hang out. After another couple of months of bugging this guy, I just started getting it in. So I'll summarize that later. But Dave said basically what it is it's just customer focus. It's not because of anybody that I recorded. I haven't recorded anybody with anybody. I mean, I've recorded some cool people. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't because I recorded Bruno Mars. Because if you work at Studio of the Palms, it's obvious you're going to record Bruno Mars. It was because of a customer focus and trying to deliver something that the customer wants and help their vision, and just an undying love and study for the passion and this thing that we call music. That's pretty much what I was told from the people that gave me the award, is just because we focused and just try to get this thing better, and I try to just continue to reinvent the wheel that's being reinvented by great artists every day.
And your mentor, studio owner, his name is Pete what?
His name is Pete Rodriguez.
Tell us about the studio.
So we are SoundCap Audio. We have one control room, and we have one vocal booth. Our whole thing about the studio is we want people to feel like they're coming to a home that they live in. So we never have cross sessions happening. Everybody that comes in, it's their studio. They have a kitchen. They have everything that you would expect, a green room, and it's kind of just family. We track vocals. We do mixing. We do everything except for miking drums, guitars, live instruments. We work with Sacramento Youth Symphony and helping guys do their audition tapes that they need to do for college now. That's a good look for you guys if you want to start making some extra money. These guys got to do live auditions, and you have to film it, and you have to sync the film, and it can't be edited. So basically, we just work a lot of local artists. We have a lot of local artists coming in here with dreams, and they're trying to pursue dreams. And so that's kind of where our customer focus is. And our main thing is the capture of the audio. So we're really serious about how the vocal capture sounds first and foremost. That's our main principle. Our mission statement is the vocal capture. Everything else after that doesn't matter. It's already recorded. There's nothing you can do about it except hack it up or make it louder.
Do you guys have a whole vocal mic locker?
Yeah. Locker is multiple. Do we have a bunch of mics?
Yeah.
We have a Blue Mouse. We have a SM57 modded. We've got an AEA N22, and then
a Rode NT1A.
Yeah, Rode NT1A. We got a
pair of Josephson pencil mic C2s.
Yeah, Josephson pencil mic C2s, matched pair. Those would be used for like the miking up the symphonies and stuff, so you can get a nice matched stereo pair. So we got a few toys on hand.
Okay, you said miking a symphony. You've learned Bloomline?
I have not mic'd the symphony. That would be my mentor over here, who's the lucky guy who gets to do that. So, so I'm still, I'm still exploring all avenues. I haven't mic'd the symphony yet, but I've prepared the shows and done mix downs and stuff on them.
The 57 that's modded, Pete. What was done?
Oh, that you got to ask Ghost.
Well, I modded that. Yeah.
He's the nerd.
What?
Yeah, I modded the mic.
Yeah, I'm not the nerd.
Yeah,
okay,
so
what you do, nerd?
Yeah, I nerd out. Basically, you take the 57 apart and you have the body. You're basically putting it in a sandwich bag. You put it in hot water. Inside of there is a transformer. You snip the wires from the capsule, and you're basically just wiring the capsule directly to the XLRs on this thing. And it's pretty amazing what it does. It opens the thing up. It's called a tape-op mod.
You're saying take an SM57 and wire the capsule straight to the XLR.
Yep. You basically, there's a filter inside of there. When you take the bottom off, there's a filter inside of the SM57, and it's got glue in it. So you basically heat that up. You pull the top off, cut the tube, pull the filter out, cut tube, wire directly to the XLRs. Golden. It's awesome.
How does it change the sound?
It seems to have a little bit more headroom, actually. It allows, I mean, you still have to be more focused. You know, it's not going to want you in there bobbing and weaving on the mic, but your noise floor seems to almost disappear, and you have to be more careful. You can't send it any phantom power or anything. But it's cool. It's awesome. It just gives it more of a, like, if you put clairphonic on something, it seems to add that little brightness to it, and that's what it does. It seems to add a little bit of that top sparkle to it, because it already has a nice roll off because it's a snare mic, so you don't have to cut any mud out on it. It just seems to give it a little bit of that fuzz that it takes away. It almost sounds like you're running it through like a nice UAD pre, like a real old analog pre. I mean, we're running a Focusrite ISA 220, and we're feeding that into a C2, and then that's running down into a Hammer 2 into the Toft. But this SM57, it just sounds really analogy when you mod that thing. Cheap mic. Cheap mic makes a $200. It makes a $100 mic sound like a $500 mic.
Are there any other mics that are that easy to mod? Everybody, hold on. Everybody in here, there's like 5 guys in here shaking their heads like, yes, mod, you're on the late train. They're typing over here on the side. Never. I've never heard this. But there's other mics that are easy to mod, like what?
The Rode, the NT1 is supposed to be a favorite because you can buy capsules for that emulate like 99% of like a U87, U47, and you basically just pull out the capsule, mod it in the body. People are doing a lot of mic mods. It's real popular. There's a capsule out there, I can't remember, and it's supposed to be really close to like the Sony, the C800. The capsule for it's like a $300 capsule, but this thing is getting sonically the lines on an oscilloscope. It's almost identical to a C800 for $400.
You see Francisco down there nodding his head, and he's typing
It probably either he has really dope mics or he's like, yeah, I've done it before.
I was actually thinking about buying mics from some of the Pensadians because they do mods, and but I mean, damn, I can do a wire. I'm an ex-electronic tech. I can solder or whatever I need to get wires. Do you said you solder?
Yeah.
On the 57?
Uh-huh.
Oh man. I can do some of these mods. Okay. Who has the first question? It was Jim?
Yo, I do. Well,
Okay.
he kind of answered it. He said, man, I begged and I sat on the guy's doorstep. I asked him like 10 times to get in, and it's like, yeah, you stalk the guy that you want to get in, it seems like. But no, I've been listening to some podcasts and stuff, and they say, if you want to get in the studio, why don't you go find some guys out in town that have a band, and they have a little, cash and they want to record, and you can maybe get in a studio that way, and then be an assistant on some of the sessions in that respect. But I was wondering, I was going to ask you, how did you do it? And you kind of explained it before I asked the question. But that's another way, I guess, because I know a lot of bands, and they're all wanting to record. The thing is trying to find the right studio to get in, because I've been to one and it didn't work. You know what you might try, and I've suggested this to a hip hop guy who wanted to get started, and I know money always is an issue for everybody, but maybe you approach it as from the producer standpoint, where you get the band, you put up the money, and you actually book the studio session to run the session yourself.
and that way you can display your skills. And nobody's going to let anybody walk away who can benefit and bring value to their business. So if you can just go there, bring a band, track them, do everything you would normally do. Don't even bring up that you're looking for anything, and you know, find the studio you like and do that a few times. And you might get a guy saying, hey, you do any freelance engineering? You know, my guy just had a baby, or my guy's got sent down to LA or wherever. But that would be a really good way to get in, to just kind of display yourself, because it's you know, it's hard to get anybody to come in now. It's really hard to get anybody. You just don't know what you're getting when you take people in. And then the guys that come in from the schools, what we're finding is you have all of this awesome school experience, but you've never dealt with a customer. You don't know what a customer wants, and you're kind of confused, because customers are sensitive people. They look at you, and you're the odd man out. They don't know you. They don't want to open themselves up to you. So you can have all the school, but without customer experience, it's going to be tough to convince anybody to get you in there. So booking a studio session and running it as the producer, that might be a really good way.
And then you're going back to customer service, which is
customer service, because
the
they
main
want to know
deal.
who you are. What are you bringing to the table? Why is this guy why is this guy your intern? A lot of guys would ask Pete, you know, who is this guy? What is he doing here? You know, I'm not sure if I want him hitting the record button. I don't know what this guy's doing here. And it's tough. That's the way it happens. I'm sure it happens a lot in rock and country. It's just, but if you make yourself valuable, you won't have any problems at all. It looks like you have some nice guitars. It looks like, I mean, I could assume you know what you're doing, but I'm sure you're not buying those cool guitars without knowing what you're doing.
No, I've got more money than I've got sense. I'm just still growing, man. Yeah, but I've been to a couple of studios, and it's like, wow. Ooh, after the sessions, though, I didn't want to be, under that guy, so to speak. So yeah, trying to find the studio, and I've got my sights on a couple, but like I say, it's going to be 6 more months before I can get out and be able to have the free time. I work for my wife, so it's kind of hard to get away.
When you say that guy, what was it in particular that you didn't like? Because that's an interesting thing that you're saying right now.
His know-it-all attitude, and okay, me being the assistant or me being the onlooker in the studio, I'm seeing how he's trying to isolate the guitars. We had 3 guitars, one 12-string, one 6-string, one electric Fender Strat, and then we have a harmonica, and there's no drums. We've got a diddly bow keeping the rhythm, kind of, and so it's kind of like a bluegrass band. But there's no separation. He's putting these gobos up, and the amp's sticking out, blowing over into the other guy's microphone, and I'm looking at it like, well, he's got to do a little more isolation if he's going to separate these guitars later, And the way he's mixed it all. He mixed 8 songs in about an hour, and then threw out the CD, and it's like, wow, we really could have got that mud out of with all that guitar stuff going on. Yeah. So I just thought, he's mainly doing young rock bands, guys that have no. But I've been doing this for probably 10 years, and I don't consider myself really good at it. But what I've done is I've put myself in Pensado students and other forums, and it's like learning another language. I've kind of moved to Mexico in a way by being in Pensado students, and I'm learning the language, and I'm learning how to speak. And then after I learn all the words and the technology, then I start, acting on that. Yeah. And so I'm starting to act on it. But I've picked up enough lingo that I know that you put the gobo and you try to isolate the guitar in the studio. You don't let it run out, into the other microphones.
Something that might help you that me and Pete have been working on, and this might help you to make sense of all that, is there's a couple terms that me and Pete now like to use, and one of those is a technical suggestion. Now that's something you can't argue. You can't argue. You need tires on a car to drive. That would be a technical suggestion. And then there's artistic suggestions, which can offend people. Those can offend people. Those are subjective. They may not necessarily make the song better to this guy, but maybe to this guy. And then there's workflow suggestions. Yeah. And those are basically things that may help you, but they may not help me based on workflow. And those are really the three mantras that are helping us right now to look at things and say, well, is this a technical thing? Is this an artistic thing? Or is this a workflow thing? And that might help you better when you're looking for your studio out there, because some of the stuff you're mentioning to me just sounds like technical things and workflow things without even hearing the audio. It sounds like you were more concerned about his workflow than his technical and artistic, you know. So there's something you might think about.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Because yeah, there was some things that I know, you know, to be a fact from listening to, you know, 600 different threads, you know, in the last 5 years, you know. And yeah, he doesn't get on the internet. He's in his own world, and he's successful in doing what he does. Yet when I come in and I have I've been to school, so to speak, and I've got a B average, you know, and then I go in and I look, and I'm just the onlooker. I'm just the assistant, but I'm like, whoa, what's this guy doing?
Yeah, maybe when you go,
it's kind of tough.
Maybe when you get there next time, you're so prepared that they're unprepared for you to be that prepared. When you get there, you say, here's what we want to do. We want to click a click track on. This is the BPMs. The first thing I want to do is I want to mic this guitar right here. I want to mic this guy. I want to feed him in. I want a low mic. I want a high mic. I want a stereo pair. Then I want to do my panning there. Then I want this guy to come in. And when you start dictating the way that session goes, you're no longer the assistant. You're the guy running the show. And he's just, you know, you're Geppetto. You're Geppetto now. You're making Pinocchio do what he needs to do. And that's the most political way and diplomatic way to do that, is by you being more prepared than they are. And just, I mean, it's your money. He's going to do whatever you want to do. So, you know, we have guys that come in, and we're fortunate enough that we get to do co-producing per se, even though, you know, most of the local guys we're working with, there's you know, bigger guys, of course, we don't have any injections because they're already ready when they get here. But for you can go in there and just, you have the game plan laid out. This is what I'm looking to do. This is what I'm hiring you for. I'm hiring you to push that button right there. That's what I'm hiring you to do right now. I'm hiring you to hit the record button. That's it. If I want that thing panned to the left, pan it to the left. If I want you to throw a phaser on, throw a fucking phaser on it. And if you don't want to do that, we can save this and I'll go work somewhere else. It's cool. We obviously don't get along. There's no sense in beating each other up. There's only so many bridges in the music business.
Yes. And I was so new at that studio, I really didn't want to, you know, be making any waves or rocking the boat. But when you put a mic up on the amp, I know that it's good to listen to, you know, if you're in the middle of the speaker or out on the edge of the speaker, compared to the other two guitars that are in the middle or out on the edge, and try to get some separation in those things. So it just became a muddy mess, you know.
Were you interning at that studio?
No, I was actually, you know, kind of invited to record in on a session with a band.
Okay. Interesting.
I have a question on that one. When you listen to the audio, was it good? Like whatever technique you think you see him doing, when you listen to it, how did it sound?
Yeah. See, I've got my own headphone mix, and I said, hey, I don't want a headphone mix for me. I want to hear what you're hearing inside your control room. You know, so I'm listening to this, and I'm like, whoa, those guitars. Man, if he could pull that mic off that amp just a little bit, it wouldn't be so bassy, you know. It was really a muddy mess. That's all I can say about it. And there was no mic placement to try to separate these three guitars, you know. I've got a regular 6-string, a regular 12-string, acoustics, and then I have a Strat, electric Strat, and it's just all coming together, and it just didn't sound good. But who's to say? That's an artistic thing, I guess, maybe. Artistic. You know, that guy's he's in the control room. He knows what it's supposed to sound like, right? So
I'm asking because like sometimes when when I my thing is like kicks and snares, getting them to really knock, and people will come in and say, your kick has too much low end, hit me. And I just look at them like, bro, I'm hip hop. we knock.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes it's that I have no idea what your situation was. I have no clue. But when you listen when you listen to that guy's mixes when he's done, have you listened to any of his mixes, like when he was done, you have the final product, have you listened to any of that?
Yes, because he threw a CD out within 6 hours. We did 8 songs in 6 hours.
How
Boom,
did it
final
sound?
product. Hit the door. It was it was just muddy. There was no separation. I don't think the gobos were placed in a proper way to isolate the different instruments from each other in order to mix them later, and you know, it was just muddy.
Okay.
I think I could have done better, but I don't know the technical stuff on his. He had an MCI board. It's a Sony knockoff or something like that, is what he was saying. And he's running it through some outboard gear, running Pro Tools, and mastered it in Sony something. I mean, all within 6 hours. We did 8 songs, and it was track, mix, master, boom. Out the door with the CD. I get the CD, and it's like, golly, ooh, I think I could have done better with that. But it would have took me some time because I'm not good, yet. I'm still a novice. I just know what I hear.
Did they have a reference material that he was comparing that to, that he was trying to match it to?
Oh, no. No, it was all his ears. Just straight through. Run it and get it out the door.
If y'all can't tell, I'm trying to give the studio owner some some help.
I wouldn't.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that the studio environment's tricky. Like a lot, what I see happening a lot in the music business is everybody wants to be a cook. Everybody wants to get their hands, in the recipe, and I just feel like what happens is, every time you go to a session or you're in a musical environment, it seems like there should be a master chef, and whatever his skill set is, whether he's the best chef in the world or a novice chef, when you're there to prep the food and cut the celery or whatever, you're supposed to be supporting that dude. So
yes.
And I just see it like it shouldn't matter if he's a great chef or mediocre. The mentality I feel like that I've learned, and it's really hard to do in a lot of times, but I've noticed that whenever I'm in a session, and if I'm producing, that's one thing, but if I'm engineering a session and the producer is just not doing a very good job, or racking up a bill for the client or whatever's happening, every time I've tried to step in and give some sort of direction, it usually backfires. It'll get me fired. It'll undermine his authority, whatever. So I've learned over time, and Ghost, maybe you could tell me if I'm on the right track here, is that always support the master chef no matter what's going on. Yeah. And it'll make you look good, because once you open your mouth and start trying to, it usually doesn't work. Even if you're right on, if you're spot on about everything, better, you're the smarter dude, you got it going on, it always backfires, it seems to me.
Sometimes what I would do because I was just learning with Pete, and obviously me having a consumer ear, I would hear things differently because I wasn't too trained, but I always try to put it in a perspective of, hey, I haven't been doing this that long, and I noticed that you're doing this. Could you explain to me why is it that you're doing that? Because I'm trying that, and this is what I'm hearing from that. So maybe you can just plant the seed that they know that what they're doing is a bad look. You know what I mean? And that you're thinking about it, and it's non-confrontational, and see if they can give you the right answer that you're looking for. But definitely right now, I mean, me and this guy, we've gotten arguments over things. But I thought should have been one way, and he thought should have been another. But it's hard to do. You have to have two people that are willing to just look at it as a work thing. Like me and this guy, we had an argument last week. I felt I was the best guy to track somebody, and he thought he was. I had an attitude, and I was like, okay, you take it. You take the session then. But it just turned out that I was misinterpreting. I was wrong too. Actually,
terminology thing.
Yeah, it was the terminology thing, and I was wrong. But we talked about that, and we decided that we need to just have better terminologies with each other. But I definitely make suggestions like, hey man, did you know that fader's down, not unity? Did you know that that's that's not a stereo track? It should be a stereo track. And if people don't like that, man, maybe it's better to go work somewhere else. If that's the technical stuff, if the technical stuff's not right.
I love the technical stuff. As speaking from being like the owner and the person that deals with the customer a lot, I love the technical suggestions. Like I feel like Ghost has got my back because, dude, there's freaking 5,000 buttons on this damn screen. There's millions of buttons in front of me. We just may have been recording a guitar earlier today, and shit's all hooked up crazy. And he's like, "Yo, man, I got a technical suggestion. I think you forgot to actually plug that cable in." I'm like, "Oh shit, word? Okay, that's what's up." But I think one thing I want to say is, it's kind of speaking to the last gentleman that was talking about having that experience in that studio. We try to eliminate that kind of mishap. Like, say if a customer wants to book a 4-hour session with us, and they tell us, "Hey, Pete, Ghost, we want to do 5 songs in 4 hours." You know what we tell them? We tell them, "That sounds great. That is an ambitious workflow. But do you want to know what most of our customers are doing in a 4-hour slot? They're actually doing one of 2 things. They're working on one song and trying to take it to a pretty damn high level, or they're working on 2 songs and getting them to a pretty damn good level. So, sir, if you want to do 2 songs at an extremely high level, you might as well get an 8-hour session or something." So it's us letting, because it's foggy, because there's a difference between a prospect and a customer. A prospect hasn't done business with you and they don't know how it works yet, and the customer already has. So it's important to talk to the prospect and let them know what most of our customers are finding successful with us. And that way, most of our sessions run really smooth. No one's confused. Everyone's excited. We're having a good time. That's just my 2 cents. But maybe I'm crazy.
He is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what I was after when I went in there. I was invited to come sit on the session. I'm not paying for it, and I'm not running it. So I kept my mouth shut. But I was looking, and I was observing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, this is." But I didn't say anything,
Maybe just ask me a question.
Yeah, it wasn't my place, though. It was not my place to say anything, But I can talk about it after the fact, and I think that comes back to, what an intern is, Keep your mouth shut. Watch, observe, look around, See what these guys are doing.
That is true. The first 6 months that Pete had me here, I didn't speak to one person. Like, I literally didn't speak to anybody unless it was, and I would sit literally almost on Pete's ass right beside him. Everything he did, I watched the screen. And as soon as I thought I heard something from the artist, I would, "Hey, you want some water? Can I get you some water or something?" "Yeah, hey, I can get that for you." And I was really just trying to make myself have some type of value. And then, one customer, or client, I should say, actually had told Pete, "Hey, is Rob going to be there? I'm going to be there Saturday. Is he going to be there?" And Pete's like, "No, he just hangs out once in a while." He's like, "Oh, I want him there in my sessions from now on." And that's kind of how it started. I had created value for that guy, and he trusted my opinion because I didn't speak up unless it was something cool. So I never said anything, and when I did, people thought, "Well, he's actually saying something now. This guy's been here 6 months. He hasn't said anything yet." But that's the right idea, though. If you're an intern, and people debating about whether you get paid or not. I mean, I personally would have never wanted to spend $18,000 or whatever it is to go to a school and be in the hole for 10 years. I would have rather took a loss on $10 an hour for 1 year, because that's a lot cheaper than $18,000 to actually learn how to talk to people and deal with people and listen to how to convey that emotion they're trying to do, and what's the inflection. What does an inflection even mean? You don't even know what that is when you start. What's an inflection? Like, should you be singing in a relative minor or a relative major, and is this thing transposed? And you have to find the scale, so that you have to find the scale of the song so you can, and people say, "Oh, the auto-tunes," but yeah, finding the scale of the song has to do with more than that too. You can tell people, "Well, this is the note." Never wanted to spend $18,000 or whatever it is to go to a school, be in the hole. Yeah, I couldn't hear what you were saying, but it would suck to be in the hole 18 grand and not know how to record anybody. I'm just saying, I'm not knocking any of the schools, but people seem to be uncomfortable with talking about the difference in going to school and the difference and not. Most of the people that we've seen come in here that came from the schools, they're too good for their own good almost. You know what I mean?
Hey, Ghost, can I jump in with a question right there?
Of course.
Before you go off a little too much. This might sound like a really basic question, but it's very important that we define what exactly is an intern. You said your role was very limited in that initial 6 months. Can you expand on that and give people a proper definition? Because a lot of what I've experienced with interns in the studio, as you said, as you're alluding to, was a lot know too much. They want to do everything right away. Can you give us a constricted definition?
Yes.
To what your roles are and when do you graduate from that?
So to help that better, there's three things that happen in a studio, and one of those is a runner, and then you have an intern, then you have an assistant engineer, and then after that you've graduated, you're now an engineer. So a runner is basically he's the studio bitch. He's not the studio bitch, but he is. He babysits kids. He runs to the McDonald's. He goes get cigarettes. He does whatever people need him to do, and he's happy about it. He doesn't ask any questions. He doesn't ask for, can I get your picture? Can you tag me on Facebook? He doesn't do any of that stuff. That'll be the last time you ever go.
That happiness part
What's
again?
that?
Can you say that line again? Because that's really key. Again, you're happy about it.
You're happy. You're happy because you're actually getting your foot in the door right now. It's actually a toe. So you've got a toe in the door now, and people are stepping on it when they go in the studio. But when you're an intern, that means you're finally being trusted now. You're being trusted to sit in on sessions. Your ear and your ideas are important to somebody, and it is okay to ask questions. An intern is supposed to ask questions because the person who hired you as an intern feels like they're going to invest some time in you because of something. I don't know what it is, but they're going to invest time in you, and they want to see that you're devoting yourself to their knowledge. So you're going to ask some questions, and that's what an intern does. An intern asks questions. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why does this sound like this? An intern really doesn't say, I think it would sound better if you pan this. I think it would be better with the LA2A. The intern is someone who asks questions in the most simplest form of all. You ask questions, and you absorb knowledge. That's pretty much what you do. That's the best way to describe what an intern is. You're trusted to be there already. You've already proved that you're wanted in the studio. Now you just need to absorb, learn. That's what you're supposed to do, is learn.
Now, if I can branch off of that in a similar direction, as much as it is technical, you seem to speak about the relationship that you have with the studio owner, and we spoke about hounding him, and how do you develop that from that? Okay, you're in the door, you're the intern, you're asking questions. When do you have that time to connect? Is it always outside the studio? Can you do that within the studio, within that environment, within that work environment, or does the hierarchy of the process forbid you from making that personal connection?
No, we have a real personal connection. It took about a year before we actually hung out outside of the studio, but we had a lot of questions. I showed up early. I'm the last one to leave, and after sessions would end, I would say, "Hey, that was really cool what you did. I like that," and it just started to show him that a lot of people come in and they want a job in the studio, and I really had to just prove to him that I didn't want a job in the studio. I wanted him to teach me how to have a career for the rest of my life. I didn't want a job. I didn't want I've never looked at this guy as my boss ever. From day one, I've always looked at him as a friend, and we've always had that respect. I know I've crossed the line with him a few times. And he knows that's just me being ambitious. I don't know why he hasn't fired me a long time ago, because I argue with him sometimes. But I think it's just a mutual respect, and it took a while to build that. 6 months of just asking him questions and showing that I took everything that he told me with a grain of salt and actually studied it and analyzed it. And I would come back to him the next day and say, "Hey man, I watched like 8 hours of videos last night on everything you're talking about, and you were right." But after that, we'll go have beers, and we'll go do a lot of stuff. There's been several times we forgot we had a session and came to the studio and been hammered and knock on the door. Oh shit, it's time to record. But yeah. But once that fostered, what happened is one day I'm sitting here doing my normal thing, and Pete says, "Hey, I gotta go pick some stuff up, man." And I said, "Okay." And he's like, "So you're gonna have to record these guys." I had only touched the record button once, and he's like, "You've been watching me now for 6 months. You should be cool." And he's like, "So don't blow it. I'm not gonna answer my phone if you call me." And he fucking left. So I was literally here for 4 hours tracking these guys, and he's basically gave me he said, this is it, do or die. You're either going to win or you're going to lose, but you've been here 6 months. You should have it now.
Now, I was pretty confident, so I would have never done that unless I did. You know what I mean?
Right. So it seems the keys that you have to exhibit as an intern are passion, alongside happiness and respect.
Yes. Yes.
How do you keep those things fueled and don't get discouraged? Because there's no way around saying this. That's a long period of time. How did you stay so consistent?
I had no other option but to win. I just kept telling myself, I have no other option but to win. That's it. This is 10 years. 10 years is a short amount of time in the music business, and I just started thinking that no matter what, I have to win. And it is discouraging, like when you're, especially when you're here and you hear a client tell your boss that, hey, I want you to track my session. Like, are you going to be here? I want you to track my session. And you got to try to like swallow your pride a lot, because you just have to analyze people and just realize that people are sensitive, man. They don't want to open up to somebody they don't know all the time. And then I would go online. What I would do is I would go online and I would watch the stupidest, most retardedly, dumbly mixed videos ever. And I would be like, wow, I'm shitting on these guys. You know what I mean? I'm way better than this. This is cool. And then come back here and, fail horribly and try to figure out why. But that's how I'd kept myself in check, was just, I have to win. This is what I'm here to do. And this guy's obviously, I'm not going to, if Kobe Bryant tells me this is how you need to shoot a free throw, I'm going to listen to the guy. And I didn't have a studio, and he did, and he has, a lot of respect amongst the music community in our city, and I just kind of looked at it like, well, he's got respect, he's telling me what to do, whatever, I'm broke, I'm a starving artist for real, but at least I'm not punching in a time clock. It could be a lot worse than that. I'm doing music for a living. This is stupid. This is ridiculous. Who gets paid to do music? And when do people pay you to come do work? This is who does that? Artists are, right? An artist will pay you to come work hard. It's weird. I want to give you money to work hard. It's like, what? Okay, I'll take that.
I hear that.
I'm a spaz.
Exactly.
Max, you ready?
Yeah. Just I'm a studio owner, and I have my intern here.
Squad.
I guess my biggest question is or if you could maybe address it, it's really a twofold question. What is the one thing that studio owners should really know about dealing with interns, that you see and that you hear is a common thing, where studio owners screw up working with interns, and by the same token, what's the top maybe one or two things that every intern always does to screw up and make a bad impression with the studio owner?
Well, one with the studio owner, I think, would be that sometimes people are so good at what they do that they just assume everybody else is that good. Kobe Bryant probably assumes that everybody should be playing ball as good as him, because it's not hard for him to do that. So I think that maybe as a studio owner, sometimes it can be easy to be a little bit harsh in your criticisms of somebody, and instead of maybe giving a guy an attentive ear and saying, hey, here's how I got through this. Sometimes you come across to a guy and say, what are you doing? You're going to ruin the whole fucking song. Fuck. So I think just tact and talking to people away from other people, because this is kind of, well, I'm speaking from me myself, and he already knows this. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I get my feelings hurt easy. So I'm one of those guys, I don't want anybody to scold me and try to teach me how to do something in front of a client, because then I'm kind of like, dang, this guy thinks thinks I don't know what I'm doing. Now I got my boss teaching me how to do shit I already know how to do. Now I got a client wondering why he's teaching me how to do stuff. So I think for an owner, I would suggest maybe just pulling the guy aside away from everybody and ripping into him then, when he's not with anybody. And I think they'll respond a lot better if you're a studio owner if you do that. And I think for an intern, you just have to understand that, and these guys have been doing this stuff a long time. There's a reason why they own studios that are successful, and you can watch all these videos all you want and YouTube videos, but the guy who's teaching you is the guy you need to listen to. And you injecting your opinions should probably be in not in the artistic sense at all, because you haven't even developed an artistic style yet. You don't even know what that means, and you should probably just try to focus on the technical side of it, because that's the stuff that has to be done. You have to tempo map a song. You can't just let a guy go. And, you know, the artists know too, when you're an amateur but you can hit the record button, they'll get you, man. They know that time is money, and if you're just going to sit there and hit the R button all day long, they're going to rock with it. They're going to say, yeah, let's go. Wow. Give me another track. Wow. Give me another track. Wow. So just as an intern, ask a lot of questions, understand the studio owners are just doing what they have to do, and that's to keep the doors open. And they've got clients. They're the ones who get the phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning from a client, and the client's like, hey, this fucking shit sounds like gas, man. What the hell's going on? Why is the reverb so high? What's with this delay? What's going on? You let this guy bounce this file out. So he's up at 3 o'clock in the morning fixing it, and you come in as an intern, you're like, whoa, why are you so pissed off at me, you know? But, yeah, owners should talk to guys in private, and interns should respect the opinion and knowledge of the guy that's teaching them. That's the best way to get along, I think.
Using those terminologies.
And the terminology,
like
yeah.
What do you call it? Technical suggestion.
Technical suggestions.
Artistic suggestion and workflow. Because no one gets offended when you come at them with that. You know, those are just suggestions and thoughts, and I think that helps you grow. Because then otherwise it seems like you're just nitpicking, being a prick.
You say, hey, I have a technical suggestion for you. You know, you haven't been recording for a long time, and I ran into this problem before, and you know, this is if you do these things, then this is what's going to happen. And hey, I have an artistic suggestion. I really like that delay. I love that 8th delay going on right there, but maybe we try running a quarter note delay on there, and maybe that'd be a little bit better. So, but definitely, it definitely hurts when when you're mixing something and a guy comes up to you and says, hey, this sounds like ass, and your reverbs are jacked, and the song's going to be ruined. You know, the guy's going to be scared to touch a song. He's not going to want to. He's going to be scared, real scared.
No, that's what us owners have to deal with too. I mean, you know.
Yeah, it definitely has to. That's why me and him, you know, we got a two-way understanding. We just understood. I understood that he had the knowledge, and he understood that I had none of it, and we just had to try to put our personalities aside. I guess that's what it comes down to. Because yeah, you as an owner, and it looks like you have a really nice studio. You got to keep those doors open. I mean, it probably cost you a lot of money just to open the door today and have this interview. It's costing you money.
Yeah.
You're losing money right now. You could be tracking. So, you know? So, you know, and he's got to understand that. And he will over time.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He'll understand that.
Oh yeah.
And he's bigger than you, so you got to be careful.
Good point.
So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah.
That's my personal experience. Of course, it's hard. This is the only guy I've ever worked for, so I'm filleting my boss as we speak. This is not good, but it is good. He's going to fillet me for it later. He'll probably throw me in on some crazy song that's been pushed all the high hell, and it's got to be mixed nice.
All right, Charles. You had a question for him?
Yeah, this is Charles, music producer, engineer. And so, first and foremost, Ghost. Which one is Ghost and which one is Casper? I see two guys in the same video. So can you kind of let me know who you are so I can direct that question towards one or the other?
I'm the ghost with the most.
The ghost with the most. What's going on, guys? Okay, so my question is in picking your interns, right? And I'm an ex-intern for Rondor Studio in LA, and also Sony BMG. So the thing is, well, a long time ago, a long time ago. But the thing is, how many interns or experience that you've had that the intern is not actually coming to learn mixing? They're actually coming to learn the music business only.
Oh, I've seen at least half of the people that we've had come through here that wanted to do interning. We're more concerned with the business end of things. But a lot of the interns don't even know what they want to do really. They're still up in the air because nowadays people are making beats. So you got guys that are making beats and they want to learn how to record so that they can start their own studio and produce. But I would say that, you know, at least half of the interns have an interest in the business end of it beyond mixing, from what I've seen. But we just teach them anything they want to know. I mean, whatever. If they want to see our signal chains, that's fine. I mean, if you want to book a session and use our studio, I'll even tell you what presets to use, and hopefully you can get it to sound like we did, and we'll cheer you on the whole way. You know, that's how we approach those guys, because some of those guys are hotheads. A lot of interns, not all of them, but some interns, they're gonna come out of school and they're gonna save the world and record a hit record next week in one session. but I don't know.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Reason why I asked that because I was coming in, you know, back in the 90s, you know, 96, 97, you know, coming as an intern, right? And in the business because I wanted to learn the music business as far as with A&R, you know, what does it take to have a good, you know, team, a good group, or, you know, and I got placed right into the you know, to the thick of things as far as the faders, you know, the SSL board, you know, that whole thing, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I thought that I was going to come in, you know, interns think that they're going to come in doing a certain thing,
right?
But it's actually something else, you know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of in this hangout here, I'm kind of you know, you guys probably even talked about this even before because I'm kind of late. But I just wanted to kind of get that question out to you so I can understand, like, what's the difference between internship now, you know, and opposed to back 10 years ago, you know.
I wish I could comment.
Is it a difference? Is it a big difference, or is it just a small difference?
You know, I wish I could comment on back 10 years ago. I haven't been in the business that long.
Okay.
I've just been so ambitious. You know, I've only been in 3 years, and I've got almost 8,000 hours of tracking. Like, I've tracked literally almost 8,000 hours.
Oh, you're good.
7 days a week, you know, 15 hours a day. I mean, God bless my family for putting up with me, but I don't know what it was. I can assume it was probably that much more so 10 years ago. I'm not sure. Pete, you have any?
No, I mean, are we talking just music in general or just internships in general?
Just
internship. Yeah, I'm speaking on the internship aspect of that. I'm sorry, I had to cross wires on you guys.
I can't answer that because I haven't been in the business that long. I wasn't in the business 10 years ago to know how to answer that.
I think that the biggest difference is that there's not the bigger studios aren't doing what they used to do, and there's this big old influx of new students coming in from different schools, which back in the day it wasn't, you'd get a handful of people. Now they have dedicated schools for audio engineering, so you don't see I think it's a big difference because now you have to tailor more to these smaller independent engineers and producers that are looking for this kind of person to come in. I think that's been the biggest difference within the past at least within the past 5 years. It's been that everything has been going on when it comes to interns, and that's why now we're getting to a point where people are like, well, I need to get paid. It's because it wasn't so many people that were getting into it because they wanted to get into it. You know, when it comes to coming from schools, now people are getting into it because they're like, oh, it's a job. And it's become less of a specialized thing because everyone goes to school. Everyone's given that promise of, oh, I'm going to have this amazing career in the music business, and it's not quite it because it's a lot of work, and a lot of people aren't willing to put in that work. And I think that's the biggest difference between now and the past. I know my brother-in-law ran a record label still actually is running his record label, and he it's the same thing. I mean, he was sued he was sued in one of those lawsuits for an intern, because that's the change of mentality from 10 years ago and now. I think that's the biggest thing. So
I have a question.
That's good. Thank you.
How many of you guys? First off, I would do this. How many of you guys would go work under a person that you thought kicked butt at doing this engineering stuff? How many of you guys would actually go in there and do work for free, as considering that your education and the contacts that you get are your pay? I would. How many of you guys would?
I've actually done it, so been there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm doing it right now.
I didn't get any money when I started. I had coffee, a lot of coffee.
I would. If I could sit for 1 year for free next to Tony Maserati, I would do it. Just to sit there and not say one word.
That was my story. I mean, that's definitely the way that I got started. Is essentially I was working at a college for recording, essentially Long Beach City College is in the recording department, and they shut down the program. And the day that they told me that they were even going to think about giving pink slips, I started throwing out emails to the biggest names I could think of, and that's essentially how I landed the gig. And I spent the same thing. I spent a year not getting paid, kind of just milling around doing what needed to be done. I showed up the first day. He was like, "Hey, I'm not, I don't need another intern. I don't need another intern. I don't need another assistant. If you want to come hang out and watch what we do and putz around and make cables and do random stuff, I'm more than happy to have you." And it just so turns out that 6 months later, his assistant left to Brazil or something like that, and everyone else kind of went their ways, because that's how it is in this business. Everyone gets other gigs and they start doing different things, and that's how I ended up where I am. 2 years later, I'm sitting in a, not right now. Right now, I'm sitting at home because I'm doing fortunate enough to do work from home, but yeah, that's you sit in a great studio with a great engineer.
Bill McDonald, what about you? Would you do that? You're muted. You got to unmute yourself, Bill. To unmute yourself, take your cursor up to the top. You'll see a microphone. You click it, and it should unmute you. While he's doing that, what about who else? Who did not answer so far? Sam, did you answer?
No, I didn't. I think it's a complicated question. It's very situational. So I can't just give you a yes or no about what I do. It depends totally on what's going on in life and who you're working for, that sort of thing.
So if you had a chance to work for Tony Maserati right now, you wouldn't go in and do it for free?
For Tony Maserati right now for free, I would do it.
You would?
Yeah, but who knows? It's a complicated thing. I think there's a potential in there for it to become exploitative, at some point. So you just got to be aware of that line, and know what you're worth, as well as being aware of, what the people you're working for are worth.
But he probably thinks you're exploiting him. He probably thinks you should be paying him for you to sit there and watch what he does at the same time.
And in that case,
you know what I mean?
Of us, that would be true, yeah.
I don't know if you've looked, but Tony Maserati and these guys, they don't do YouTube tutorials on how they do mixes and widen stereo, guitars. They don't do that stuff.
Right,
you have to pay $2,500 to bring your own song in there, and if he wants to mix it, then you get to see how he widens guitars and how he uses reverbs.
Now, see, Ghost, you bring up. Go ahead.
So that's a two-way street, definitely.
You bring up an absolutely good point, because like we'll read all this text where people are saying that they wouldn't want to do it for free, and there's some legit stuff like you cannot afford. Some people cannot afford to go in. Like if you have a wife and child and bills, and you can't afford it, so be it. But reality is, somebody say again like Maserati, that's one hell of an education. And then there's other benefits that come with that. And if we would pay to go to college, I've always looked at it as, if I would pay to go to college, why wouldn't I pay to sit next to somebody like Tony Maserati, and not even necessarily that high? Well, I'll put it this way. There's a fella in Virginia. I paid him twice for 2 10-hour block sessions for him to teach me what I heard that was being done on a record that I was helping with back in 1990, like 1, 2, or 3. I paid him, and everybody was looking at me crazy, and I thought they were insane for not being willing to get one-on-one training. I wasn't even just sitting there being a fly. I paid him to actually teach me, and he thought it was the best thing the first time I did it. His wife came out, gave me, it's like she fed me. I got taken care of. And so then we did it again. I became a family friend. And after that, I was asked to come and do a session where I had some gear. I was asked to bring my gear in, which is what I had originally done. I had brought my gear in to help somebody, and that's how I met him. I was asked to bring my gear in, and the payoff being I would be able to sit in on this session that had good gobs of tracks, something we didn't have in hip-hop, and it was all these Louisiana horns. They went down to Louisiana and recorded New Orleans music. And so I'm sitting there way out of my league getting this experience because of that, and it was worth every dime, and I would do it again. And that's why I'm asking this question. Who just came in? Kenneth. Welcome, Kenneth. Is your mic working? Unmute yourself.
Check. 1, 2.
Where you from, Ken?
I'm in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Now, do you have any interns?
Actually, I do. I actually have 2 interns that are going to be starting with me in a couple of weeks.
When's the last time you grabbed and choked an intern or picked them up off their feet in an office somewhere?
I try not to do that, but I figure if they're there for the experience, they probably should expect it.
All right. Real quick, do you have any questions for Ghost Web?
No, I just popped in. Congratulations on the Pensado's win.
Thank you.
That sounds like it was a cool thing.
I didn't even expect it when it happened. I actually sat there so Martina McBride had said my name, and I was pumped up. I'm like, wow, Martina McBride just said my name? And then, people are clapping, and people are pushing on my back. They're like, dude, go up there. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, holy shit. It was crazy.
Awesome.
I never even wanted it. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't think I still don't think I deserve it. There's better people than me. I don't know. I'm very humbled by it. People said good things about me. I guess that means I'm treating people right.
That's the type of response we expect, actually, too, from people who kick butt. But you see, who is it? Dwayne's over here saying, yeah, you blacked out. It's like,
how about that SM57 shirt, though?
Yeah?
That SM57 shirt.
Yeah, that's some swag I got, I think, when I was at Tape-Op Con in Arizona a few years back.
Have you ever done an SM57 Tape-Op mod?
No, but I have about 5 of them that I probably would if I ever get around to it with all the projects I want to do.
20 minutes. You'll love it.
Sounds good.
Hey, Ken, on your interns, how did they become your interns?
Well, there's a couple of ways. I mean, my day job, and I'm actually not at my day job. I'm at home right now. But my day job is at a community college in New Jersey. So we have a program, we have a teaching program there, but I also do probably more of a mentorship with kids from what they call the high-tech high school. And I get the kids who are like, I have a liaison over there, and whenever she gets kids that are not really interested in robotics or Cisco routers or whatever, but they're musicians, she'll call me and say, I got a couple of kids who are interested. Will you take them? And usually I say, yeah. I've been doing it since 1999.
Okay, these guys are saying, Kenneth, your home looks like a day job setup.
Yeah, it's actually kind of equivalent to my day job setup. I can port stuff back and forth. Basically just to swing around. It's my MIDI stuff behind me, a couple MIDI racks, and my sub mixer, the spec, Then back over here, I've got the console, Lutor 96, Dyne Audio, Air 6 monitors. I think my cat's down there wants to jump up in my lap. Then a rack on the side with my monitors for my Mac Pro and all that other stuff. So that's basically the home rig.
That's all. That's
Hey,
all.
Kenneth. I'm sorry, Kenneth.
Yes.
This is Charles. Yeah, you're either Batman around there or you're Professor Keenbean. Tell you why. Because your day job, that looks like your day job right there, okay? That looks awesome. Looks great back there, man.
Well, you know how it is. Many years of collecting, and look who just jumped up in my lap, the cat. You know how it is with this stuff. The slippery slope. You start, and you just never stop. It just keeps going. I mean, I got stuff over here on the side that I could probably say, I could probably get rid of that, but you know how we do with that. We don't get rid of it.
Yeah, with the cat, now you're Dr. Claw.
Yeah, exactly. Right in the middle of things, aren't you? Look at you.
Somebody, I didn't catch, can't remember who it is, but somebody said that they had a question. Was it Max? Max, you had a question. Did we get back to you?
Oh, yeah, it's actually
yes,
Intern. I actually had a question for all you guys, if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, first off, my name's Trevor. It's nice to meet all you guys. It's great being here. I had a question for Ghost. I know you were talking about students that have come from schools. I was one of them. I came from Western Carolina. I got my degree in recording arts. I think my question more is, because I'm really humble about it too. I didn't walk into Max's at all thinking that I was going to run the show. I mean, this is his house. I had to listen to everything that he said, and I've learned a lot as well. My question is, we learned a lot of basics and stuff, but they didn't really teach us like the depth of recording and stuff like that. Do you think I should really focus more on what he's teaching me or what I learned in the field, or should I balance what I had in school and put it towards what he's teaching me as well? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it sounds weird, but I would forget everything that they taught you at school and pretend like you don't know anything, and just listen to everything that he says.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, pretend you know nothing. Go in there with an empty cup and leave with a full glass. That would be the best way to do that.
Because that's really pretty much what I've done. Is I walked in, because completely different setup, completely different monitors, microphones, everything, and I told myself, I was like, well, I'm pretty much starting from scratch, and I pretty much took what you just told me. I pretty much exactly did when I walked in. Was I started over. I mean, they taught us the basics, kind of mix in the box here and there, do that, do this EQ stuff like that, mic placement, how to do this. They didn't really teach us how to run a session, and like you said, they really didn't teach us how to talk to people that come into your studio. They didn't teach us any of that. We had a music industry class that we learned about contracts, and that was barely it. But how much of that you're going to run into if you're working in the studio? You're going to do that if you're working for a record company, I would assume. So yeah, that's what I pretty much did. Is I pretty much dropped everything. I walked in here with a notebook and pen. I was like, "Teach me what." I mean, he asked me, "So what do you want to learn?" I said, "What can you teach me?" He said, "I can teach you anything." I said, "Well, let's do it." And I've been here for a month and a half, and I haven't really not talked to the artists, but I've stayed out of the way. I'm like a sponge. I've absorbed everything that he's been teaching me. He's actually gave me the privilege to do a couple mixing projects. Nothing that he's going to release, but just practice. And and I told him, I said,
The hell I won't.
Exactly.
They're going to be released.
Oh well, okay. Well, that's even better for me, I guess. But
yeah, he's going to have your name on it.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it's your band. But that's what I did. Is I walked in, and I didn't bother him for 6 months. I sent him an email and told him I was interested. I was very, very interested in the studio. Saw what he could bring, and he told me, he said, if you want to do this, work in this industry, you got to start somewhere. And then, like you said, this is not even a big toe. This is like a pinky toe for me. So, like I said, I guess it's just pretty much just forget everything, and that's what I plan on doing for sure. I also want to divulge in live sound as well. Luckily, Max does live sound as well, so he's taught me some stuff with that as well. But I mean, if there's any more stuff you guys can give me, any of you guys on this panel, please welcome me, and I'm here to listen for sure.
You know what I used to do is I would pick everything 1 week. I would say I'm going to learn something new this week, And one week it would just be reverb. So I would watch everything he was doing with the reverb, how he was he timing the reverbs, the pre-delays, what was he doing. Then when I would go home at night, I would literally stay up all night, and I would watch any video I could find of somebody, like Waves, new reverb comes out, well, I'm going to watch that video and see what they're doing there. And I would watch just everything for a whole week. I would just watch it, and then the next week I would ask him questions about reverb. Hey, did you do the pre-delay on that because of this or that? And he'd be like, no, I did it because of this. And I'd be like, oh shit, I don't know how I missed that. And then the next week I would be like, okay, now I'm going to study delays. And then the next week, now I'm going to study compression. And then every week I would follow it up the next week with just questions. Never suggestions, always questions. Because then you're showing someone that you're just, I want to learn. I'm not telling you what to do. The tail doesn't wag the dog. But it sounds like you're already on the right track, my man.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I'm still going to stay here and listen to you guys, but like I said, any of you other guys on the panel, you're more than welcome to jump in and say something. I know a couple of you guys have had interns and stuff. I mean, if you have a different opinion.
And my guy's got a question.
Cool, yeah, go for it.
So I got a question. It's mostly for, I guess, for everybody, but maybe the owners of the studios. With your interns, what expectations, if any, do you have now with your interns as far as generating prospects and turning them into clients and turning them into revenue generating items? Because like I could just say right now, Ghost is the man. Like I feel like he himself is a revenue generating item. He has the skill and experience and the clout and the customer interaction skills to start generating revenue. Even if I died right now, I feel like he can make some shit happen. So I don't know. Are you other owners or looking to get your interns in that position to be on that level? What are the expectations that you guys have of your interns as far as trafficking people in the studio or qualifying leads? You know, what is it? I don't know. Just trying to ask.
First, who here is actually a studio owner with interns?
Max.
We have one.
Max.
The only one who has interns?
I just work with interns.
Or are you guys as interns expected to traffic customers in, or is there any expectations in regards to that, or no? Yes?
I can semi-answer a little bit of that. Through my experience, I've talked to studio owners about that, and they do expect interns to be that customer service front that they're unable to do because they're too focused on the technical or the artistic thing. They're the person to greet the person when they get to the studio. They're out doing concerts and stuff and finding that talent and say, hey, I think you like getting your ear to the street. They're the street source, the street team to find out what's happening in the city. And that's only in New York, though. So Max, please slide in there.
Okay. Like for me, to me, this whole craft of recording is, I'll harken it back to the days of, brick masons and concrete work, or any other type of trade. Anybody can swing a hammer, but you have to know how to grab the hammer the correct way, and it's up to us as studio owners to explain the craft, to teach the craft of recording. Whether it's anything from the aspect of kitten herding and dealing with clients to being technically proficient in how to troubleshoot your system because you get a bad mic cable, or how to set up mics properly for whatever type of session it is. So it's the studio owner's responsibility to pass on that knowledge base and make that happen. And what I expect from an intern is for them to come in ready to learn, and I want them also to be ready to teach. Because you don't really know a lot of things until you actually teach somebody else. So it's important to me because I'm always looking to bring on another engineer. I want to expand my business. We do remote recording, we do live sound, and all that kind of good stuff. And I'm looking for not just an intern. I'm looking for another engineer to be working out of the studio. I expect an intern to be watching, learning, and at some point in their internship, I want my interns to mix a session before they leave here. I expect them to mix a session, and I would like for them to actually be able to take a session from beginning to end, and take on some of the pseudo production aspects once they're comfortable in dealing with clients. It can be it's been mentioned several times before. Some of these artists are very particular, and you can look at a guy the wrong way, and his whole session is shot. And I'm sure you guys have seen it as well. That client comes in, and you as the studio owner / engineer, you're working with the client, and you turn around and you go, like, is that good? Are you happy with that? And they just fall apart, and the whole session's canceled. They're half an hour later they're out, standing outside still crying because their whole session is just shot. Oh my God, my world is falling apart. And then you've got the other ones who walk in, and they've got their ass square on their shoulders, and you've got to learn how to diffuse that that situation. And there is a whole art to making that relationship work. And I want to see an intern be able to handle those difficult situations, whether it's everything from an artist who's not at all confident to the artist who is everything but responsibly looking at what they're doing. Is needing to have some work or some critique done. I guess that made sense. I hope.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't have interns. I do have people that I train, and a lot of my work is around here in the community. And everybody that I'm working with, it's for a long-term relationship, and for us to work together to achieve something. So there's a payback. Like right now, I can go and call Dre the Most for something and Harold Haney for something. It's work like if I need a beat, I could and a mix done, I can call Dre the Most for both, and that's less stuff that I have to do. Or like if Dwayne needs something right now and he wants me to do 5 things, I can call on this guy for 2 of those things, and he comes in and helps. So I'm training people to actually help me, people that I can call on. But like I said, I don't do the intern thing. Oh, and Trevor, what Ghost was saying about emptying the cup, that's right on point. If you go in and you learn from Chris Lord Algae, and you see how he's mixing, and you have his sound, and then you switch from there and go to Michael Brower, and the sound say he's doing the sound that he was getting for Luther, total different sound. If you go in there and you're not an empty cup as a person trying to learn, you're asking for trouble. That sound that Michael Brower was getting, his whole methodology, everything, his whole mental process may be completely different than Chris Lord Algae. If you then switch from him to, who did we say earlier? Manny Marroquin. His, say he's doing, he's on his hip hop thing or whatever, and you switch into that, and you carry these other teachers in what they were teaching, and you start saying that, then you're not doing it like my old teacher. Well, then the answer would be go back to your old teacher. So you come in, you empty your cup. Not that what you learned was not valid, but you set it aside so that you can receive the new stuff, later on, you can come and assemble everything for yourself. And I can tell you, if you heard some stuff that I did where you said, hey, I like these 3 things, and you came in here and you started telling me about crystallology and whoever, I'd tell you you wouldn't like the language I would use. But it would come down to, you have to come in, learn from me, learn what you're wanting, tell me specifically what you want to learn, empty your cup so that you can learn it, and then you walk away and use that for you. So you just simply use that for you, and you'll be a total different person than I am. The whole sound you go for, everything. There's a guy named Jason Faria here. His thing is analog gear. He just loves it, and I couldn't care less for all these years. But this month, I'm going in. He's a young cat, but he's been doing analog for years, so he's senior to me when it comes to this stuff. I'm going in when I go in there, I'm going in completely as a newbie. It's like, hey, Jason, teach me, show me. I'll be quiet, whatever. If he tells me to mic this up, or if he needs me to take out the trash, whatever, it's done. But I'm going in there as a teammate who is ready to receive. And if he says mic the drum this way, if he says do this, add this reverb, this is a world that I'm unfamiliar with. I'm going to do what he says, no matter how much senior I am to him in whatever other way. And I already know he's going to treat me with respect. We treat each other. There's a respect we have amongst each other. I personally won't take the crap from people, but like I say, I'm going to walk in totally empty. All the stuff that I know is going to go to it's hey man, teach me your world, and that way I'll learn, and I'll learn fast, and we won't be bumping heads. But that method really does work that Ghost was talking about, which tells me he probably likes Bruce Lee and the Chinese culture. Is that where you got it from, Ghost?
No, the Book of Five Rings. It's the Book of Five Rings. It's basically it's Zen. It's basically
Asian culture, Chinese culture. That's what I said. Bruce Lee or the Chinese culture.
Yeah, it's like the master is pouring. Asks the apprentice if he wants if he'd like some tea, and he starts pouring it into the cup, and he keeps pouring it until it overflows, and then the master tells him, like this glass, your mind is already full and it can't hold anything else in it. You need to empty your mind so that you can take more information in. And so that's kind of where I was going with that.
You see how he became this Zen master for a second there, how he sounded like a Chinese movie, see what I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I hate to say it, but obviously he's not married, because your wife will do that to you all the time. She always tells me, you have no mind.
All right.
Yeah, it really made a lot more sense, and thank you for that insight for sure. I mean, all this info has really helped me out a lot for sure.
Hey, what's the coolest thing you've liked so far in your journey learning, like compression or like what's the coolest thing you think you love? Like, what's your thing?
I think the coolest thing is working with delays and panning and stuff like that. Max taught me something really cool where we had 2 guitars on a track, and he hard panned them each side, and then he put the delays and opposite panned them, and it gave you this amazing sound, and it just blew my mind. It was just like, he goes, you hear it now? And I'm like, that's amazing. So that's something for sure that I've really, like, anytime anybody I talk to, I'm like, I learned this really cool thing today about delay and panning. My parents are like, what? We just press play on the CD player, Trevor. We don't know what you're talking about. It's like, whatever. But I think that's probably one of the coolest things he's taught me is I never would know. He goes, there's something I like to put in here, and I listened to it, and it was just, I mean, it was awesome. So,
do you do additive mixing or you do subtractive mixing? Meaning, when you hear a vocal, you use your first thought usually, let me find out what's wrong with this, or is your first thought, let me find all the things I like about this and make them better?
I usually like to find things and make them better. That's what I like to do.
That's what I've been doing a lot lately too, is just taking it and saying, even if it was some weird song from Norway, and I would still try to find one thing I liked about it and just focus on that. I'd be like, oh my God, this hi-hat is killing them, and just keeps me excited when I'm mixing, because you don't like every song you mix on. No. But if you find something you like about it, you will. You know, even if it's just a hi-hat, you'd be like, man, this hi-hat is killing them right now. This is the one.
That's my hi-hat right there.
Keep you excited. That's my hat, man. That's my, you know. Congratulations on your internship too, man. I sending you some good vibes.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I hope I can keep within the industry. You know, I don't want to be one of those guys that, you know, worked really hard and just gave up. You know, I don't want to give up on it. No matter how hard it takes, no matter how hard, you know, just screaming, bang, whatever I got to do, I'm going to try anything I can to stay in the industry because that's what I want to do.
I believe that music is the language of the gods, and this is like, it's all vibrations, and everything that I gave to this thing, it literally gave back, because I was literally 2 weeks before I got even the announcement that I was nominated for the Pensado Award, I was re-evaluating my whole life. Like, did I just waste 3 years of my life? Do I need to quit? Do I need to go back to my day job? And then, you know, I'd really had gut-checking moments, and I did talk to my wife, and then next thing you know, wow, guess what, Rob? I just got a phone call from Herb. He said, you're nominated for a Pensado Award. I'm like, what? And then, you know, 5 days later, I'm getting the award, and it was almost like the universe was kind of saying, hey, man, hang in there. You're putting in your time, you're paying your dues, and good things are coming to you as long as you stay focused on the task ahead. And getting down is good, man, because when you're down, there's nowhere else to go but up. So I actually anticipate the down moments, because it's like, oh, I just got beat up this week.
Yeah, my down moments right now is it's been back in June, it was 6 months after I graduated, so, you know, the loan people are like, okay, so, I mean, it was really hard, but I was already working with Maxon, and I'm sitting here telling myself, well, I could either, you know, give up time working with him and learning the industry, or I just go find an 8 to 5 job and just pay these loans off and work with him. I'm telling myself, my parents are like, no, let us help you out with the loans. You need to stay in this industry. You know, granted, you're telling me, you know, pretty much forget everything with the school. Well, you know, I appreciated what I learned in school. You know, I didn't just want to give that up and try to find an 8 to 5 job somewhere. You know, I know a guy who interned and helped with Matchbox 20's album. He's working at Guitar Center, not really trying. I don't want to be that guy that just, you know, is sour because I couldn't make it. It's like, no, I'm going to push and shove any way I can to stay in the industry. And, you know, I've had to defer my loans, yeah, but, you know, my payment right now is experience. And that's the way every day I come here, my payment is experience.
I think the thing people need to know about the school is it gives you a toolbox with a lot of tools in it that you don't know how to use yet.
Yes, exactly.
And as you start learning things will start making sense. Like when you actually, one month you're going to be like, I can't believe I'm actually talking about phasing now. This is crazy. I never would have thought anything that I was actually looking at my mixes that way. And then it's going to click, and you're like, wow, I learned about a little bit of that in school. And you're going to be like, I can't believe I'm actually timing my delays. That's cool. I learned that in school. And wow, I'm actually drawing automation out in real time. They'll come to you and when they're supposed to. They won't come to you until you're ready for them. But
that's another thing is I'm not waiting for something to come to me. I have to go to it.
Yeah.
And that's the way. That's what I told myself when I came out of school. Is like, you know, I'm not going to sit here. You know, you can want one hand and crap in the other, which was going to fill up first. I mean, that's kind of the way I've been telling myself. It's like, you know, you got to do it. No one's going to come to you nowadays. No, in this industry, no one's going to come to you. You have to go to them, and you have to prove yourself. And you know, that's the way I told myself. It's like, you know, I didn't have the biggest portfolio when I came out of school. You know, I wasn't like these kids that worked on every motion picture, did this, did that, went to Nashville for interning, all that stuff. He's like, you know, good for you. That's great. But, you know, that's not what I want to do. I wanted to take my own path and not, you know, my press was like, well, you need to go to Nashville. You need to go to L.A. And I'm like, okay, are you going to pay for my apartment when I get there? You know, because, you know, they tell you to do that. But I'm like, you know, I have to accommodate myself. I can't accommodate what they want me to do.
Yeah.
Even if it means, you know, luckily Max is only 20 minutes from my house. It's great that this recording studio like this is 20 minutes from my house. That was great. I didn't have to travel anywhere. I didn't have to find a place to live. You know, I could just go home every day, and that was great. And I told myself, okay, this is the first step.
Can I interject something in here?
Yeah.
You know, there. Now I'm back in the picture. You know, one of the things that I honestly have to say about taking Trevor on as an intern, you know, he sent me links, you know, to his mixes, and you know, I'm not giving away any secrets here. I'm just flat out telling it the way it was. I still haven't even listened to any of his mixes. I'm not worried about what he's done and what he hasn't done. because I know in the schools they're going to make sure that you've you're not going to graduate if you're not doing the work. So that really wasn't my concern. What impressed me the most was when he had his mixes prepared. His resume was well put. He presented himself well. He spoke well on the phone, and he was persistent. He sent me an email, then he sent me another email, and then he called, and then he called, and then he sent me. and it was the fact that he more than anything else, he presented himself well. He communicated very clearly, very openly. I didn't have to guess what he was saying. I knew that he was, new to the industry. Otherwise, he wouldn't be asking for an intern position. But he was looking for an intern position. He wasn't looking for an A2 job. He wasn't looking for, another position. He wanted to learn, and that's what impressed me the most. It wasn't his mixes. It wasn't anything magical or special. Other than he presented himself professionally, presented himself well, and was articulate. That's and as a studio owner, that's what I want out of engineers when they're working here. I wish 90% of the interns that I've gotten inquiries from were even a third of as close to being as articulate and concise as Trevor was. That's what got him the gig. That persistence again. So. All right, now I'm out of
Trevor, the next thing that I had to learn, man, you're going to have to go through this, and it sucks. But so once I crossed over to doing assistant engineering, which is where I'm at now, comes lead generation. Man, that sucks. But you got to do lead generation, which is it's pretty cool. But like my guy was talking about, contacting clients and just finding, hey man, how's it going? How's that? Did you guys ever get that feature done? Did you ever get that bass guitar player done? And actually trying to book clients and keep clients coming in and meeting people, and that's a whole new world for you that opens up. But that's kind of what I'm going through right now. I'm going through that. That's the next process. So now I'm in the process of learning to generate leads and not make it sound weird, because then that's a whole different thing. You call a guy up on the phone and you're like, hey, how's it going with that session? He knows you want him to come in and work, so you have to put it in a way that's like you're concerned about the art itself, and it's not like you're booking a session to keep the doors open. That's what I'm going through right now, but it worked.
That goes right back to you being valuable, making yourself a valuable asset into the studio. What you were talking earlier, was it Francisco? Well, probably both of you. What were you about to say, Francisco?
I was just going to talk about that. I think the biggest thing that kept me where in the position that I am is from day one I was bringing something that my boss couldn't bring or didn't have time for. That was another thing, is being very valuable to the studio is very important. Going back to soldering and stuff like that, that's a huge thing. If you can come in there and be like, look, I can make some cables for you, I can do. It's always, like Ghost said, it's a service. It's a service that we're providing to both the artist and the owners of the studio. You have to make yourself a key, and that's another for me. That's another way of generating revenue for my studios. Essentially, I work on as much as I can when I can. First day that I showed up to the studio, boss dropped, his coffee on his MacBook Pro, and I had it back to him within the next 6 hours after getting the part. So it's really about giving them something that they can't give, and if that means doing something for them when it comes to setting stuff up or creating leads, that's a really good one. I think it's very important that you do become an asset to them, in more than just you know, I can mix. I know my gear. It really has to be like, look, I'm here for more than that. You're gonna learn. You're gonna learn about the gear. And it doesn't matter how much experience you have prior or what school you went to when it comes to audio engineering, because they know more than you, as everyone has already said. They know more than you, and you're just gonna be learning from them. It's about what you can bring them. I think had a guy told me it's everyone subscribes to WIFM. What's in it for me? Everyone loves that radio station because it's really what brings all of us together, because we all need something and we can all provide something for them. So I think that's a big key when it comes to being successful in this business, not only as an intern.
Dwayne says WIFM, it plays the hits.
Yeah.
And Trevor, here's what I do, bro. When I go into a situation, let's say I go to Francisco's studio. He's the man there. He's running it. He's just set this thing up. I walk in and I start immediately looking for things that are not being taken care of, things that would make his life easier. So if I see that he's working his butt off and the trash is not taken out, if I see that his vocals need to be de-essed, I might manually go in and de-ess all the vocals. And speaking on that, whenever somebody comes, we spend a lot of time in the studio, right? Whenever somebody comes in and says that they wish that they could spend more time in the studio, you know, kick it with us, the first thing that I do is teach them how to manually de-ess vocals. And that way, when they come in, if Dre the Most or Harold are sitting down there mixing, and they go take a coffee break, and they come back in, and all the vocals are de-essed manually, whoever did that is now in that studio, because you've just alleviated, well, number one, you've just added value, and you've alleviated some work that he would have to do, and you've done something that's much more transparent than throwing a de-esser on. Anything where you can go in and add value like that, you'll make, trust me, any of us in here, if we're mixing, you want to put a smile on somebody's face, I'm telling you. If you're running Pro Tools, I don't know what Dwayne's running, but if you're running Pro Tools and you walk in, and even if you just, like I normally just take the vocals down 4 to 7 dB. So let's say you take the S down, you go into Dwayne's vocals, take all the S's and take them down, say 5 dB, just for starters. Even if that's not perfect, right? Which it's not perfect. He now doesn't have to go in and highlight that vocal. He can go through and just say, hey, that vocal right there, and do a quick take it down, because you've already highlighted and taken it down. So I'm telling you, you just made life easier for us. We're in love with you now. I don't like saying it that way, but anyway.
No, hold on.
That's the thing. And you had said success. You were talking about success. I have a question for you about that. What is success for you? Because there's only so many slots in the upper echelon of this stuff, and there's a lot of audio work that needs to be done, a lot of stuff. So what is actually success to you? Because if you're trying to be Chris Lord AUG and fill that spot, and there's already people that like there's a bottleneck there, what's actually success for you?
I mean, that's a good question, and I probably haven't thought about it enough. Hey, Chuck, haven't thought about it enough. Success, I would just be good at being good at my own trade, I guess. You know, like you were saying, how all these different producers have their own sound and stuff like that. You know, I'm not in it for money. I'm in it because I enjoy it. It's what I do, and I'm sure saying it now, it's probably different a couple years down the road. But I want to be able to enjoy what I do, and I want to be successful in putting my trade out there, having my own signature sound with artists, or working with artists, and being able to put my signature sound with it, like kind of like what Ghost was saying earlier. Everyone has a signature sound. I guess I don't know if that helps out at all. I really don't have an answer of what I see success as right now. Maybe that's just more of a grand picture for me as of right now.
I highly advise you figure out what success is for you, that you define that, and then you can make your moves according to that. And like I might walk in and be like, whatever, he's not, nah. It's you. Like you really have to know who you are and what you need and get that.
Yeah, the first time that I met with the boss is that's the first thing he said. He's like, "What do you want out of this? Why do you come here?" And my only answer is like, "I want to be in the studio. I want to get paid to be in the studio." And that didn't have a very specific thing.
Uh-oh. I think we lost him. Come back.
Oh, so it's not me. Francisco, you paused. If you can hear
Yeah,
me.
he paused. I think he timed out. I
Go
can
ahead,
jump in here
Wayne.
and fill the gap. All right. So we've talked about the things that the things that you want to see in an intern, what to do, the keys of success, and what to express. Now, I'm going to limit you guys because I know we all have our horror stories, but what are the 3 things, hey, don't do that, that you would say when it comes to an internship? Again, I'm limiting you to 3 at max stuff. Don't do this.
Wrapping cables. Wrong.
Right? That's 1.
Don't ask for pictures. Don't ask
Right.
the artist for pictures.
Okay. That's a big one. It's a place of business.
Yes.
I'm gonna throw a couple out there. Don't stink. Don't come in smelling like ass and sheep. You know, like yeah. And so good hygiene and trust me, if you're in the studio a lot, like sometimes we don't go home, and I have clothes in there. I have towels, soap. I have all kinds of stuff. So if we don't have a shower at whatever studio, I'm washing still. They call it a whole bath. I learned that this year. So there's that. And like your breath. The last thing you want to do is say hello to somebody 3 feet away, and they go, "Oh my God!" Like or sit there trying to do poker face on you. Be likable. Do not be unlikable. I don't care how good you are. Me personally, I'll tell you to go to hell. I don't need you, because if we're going to spend a lot of time in the studio together, you and I will end up arguing, and trust me, I will argue with you and cuss you out. I'm that type of person when you're an asshole. But make sure that you're a likable person. We can, like, there's so much we can do. Like, each of us who has a skill, if we're working, can teach somebody how to do that, you know, at least some of that to help us. So if you're a likable person and you can be in there for a long time, we could actually get some good stuff going amongst us. But if you're an asshole or constantly making it to where you're questioning us and making it seem like we don't know what the hell we're talking about, or you're just interfering. So don't interfere. How about that? Reduce how much you're going to interfere. You know what? I can keep going, y'all.
Hey, we said 3. I said 3. 3.
Yeah.
I purposely limited because I know you're going to jump in. Now, to the people watching, this might seem like really common sense stuff, but there are many people who constantly fall through the cracks because of these basic things. Now, Francisco, I see you came back. Did you want to finish your question?
I don't remember. I don't remember what the question was at this point. I was too frustrated with my freaking Verizon internet. Make sure that you never get Verizon internet.
Nice. Here's the question right now. Have ever witnessed or heard from interns like things that they shouldn't do? I'm limiting everyone to 3 things. Remember, there's a cap. So don't do this. What would you say?
I think the biggest one is don't touch a piece of gear without reading the manual from front to back. I'm not sure if anyone said that yet, but that's a big one. I actually tend to save all the manuals in PDF form and put them on my phone. You never know when that comes in, but don't ever touch a piece of gear without at least looking at the manual, getting someone to actually do it. Second is make sure to mute your monitors. If you're in the studio and playing with something, mute the monitors after you're done. Sometimes you could be blasting it and you forget to mute it, and that's, you know, I'm guilty of that one. But that was early on in my career, and but yeah, mute the monitors and make sure that you don't do anything like that. I think the last one would be don't ever think you're above anything. If they ask you to do something, as long as it's not illegal, harmful, or will somehow get you into jail, be okay with doing stuff. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, I love how Ghost puts it, that it's a new service that we're providing. I really it is, and that's what it is. And it's, as much as we want to think it's an artistic thing that we're doing, it very much is. It very much is a service that we're providing, just like, you know, people who are giving me really bad internet, or, you know, your waiter at you know, at your local restaurant. You become that, because it is what we do, along with being this whole, you know, being in the whole artistic mindset when it comes to being in the studio. So yeah, those are my three.
All right, Kenneth, I believe you and Ghost, you had two more to fill up in terms of, hey, don't do that. And Max, I didn't hear from you. We're not talking about your current intern right now. Just so we're clear. I don't want to get anyone in trouble right now.
That's what you think.
Okay. My other one would be, don't talk shit about the artist unless you know the talkback mic is off.
I leave mine open. I go ahead and I talk shit to him.
I know I've personally made that mistake before and said, man, I just don't think he's, I don't think he's, you know, something like, I don't think this is going to be hot at all, man. I'm not feeling this. And then, hey, man, you know, the mic's still on? Oh, fuck. All right. Sorry. Whoops.
Yeah. When you step in that shit pile, that one will skip you right across the floor.
Pictures, talkback mics, and artistic suggestions about the song. It's not our business to make artistic suggestions to the guy who's writing the song. It's not our place at all to do that. We're not the A&R, and we're not the producer. Those three things I would say.
And that's important for studio owners to also understand.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hired to be the engineer of the recording facility. I've not been hired to be the producer. It took me a while to learn, keep my yap shut. So.
Yeah, me too.
All right, and Kenneth, did you have two more you wanted to add in there, or yeah?
Well, what was the first one? The cable wrapping.
Cable wrapping. That's actually a big one.
It's huge. One of the things I always tell them, I say, well, if you have a question, ask. Don't assume. You know, if you have a question, ask. That's what we're here for. That's how you learn. You ask questions. Let's see, one more. Funny, I can't think of one more, but yeah, I can't think of another one. But that ask, always ask. I mean, I was lucky enough to come up through here and work for an engineer in a apprenticeship type of a situation. So I was lucky. You know, a lot of people don't have that these days, you know, like it used to be. It seems to be coming back around in that. People seem to start understanding that. But I asked. Whenever I had questions, I asked.
All right. And we only have one person we have not heard from. He knows who he is. Trying to get a solid name down. Mod, help me out here. No, nothing. All right. Oh, no, he has something. Unmuted. Go ahead.
I'm coming from a live musician spot, but don't leave early. Don't be the first one to head out the door. I know that after a gig and stuff, I'm helping the facilities owners or managers, you know, put the chairs back, hauling gear to the cars and stuff. And just by them simply, I think, seeing that and letting them know that I have an interest in recording, I've been invited to come and do some on-spot recording for some people. So I just say, don't be the first one out the door, you know.
I like that. That kind of leads into my next question about how important it is to show up on time. Oh, Max, go.
The other thing is promoting yourself as, or your own studio while you're in while you're in the studio that you're working. I can't believe that I've actually had that happen, but it did happen one time. And I've heard of it happening in several other studios. Periodically somebody will just, like, gosh, man, I wish I could find someplace cheaper. Oh, well, call me. It's just like, Oh, dude, no. I know you didn't just do that. That's the other one that I can think of that's not really kosher to do.
Well, now check this. These are not mine. On my YouTube channel, I forget his name, and I should really be ashamed. This is a dope dude. But I was at SAE, and he was giving a talk on this, and he said, when you go into these sessions, do not come in smelling of perfume and cologne, because you'll come in smelling real strong. Like, don't come in like, if Max has or Kenneth has a session, and I come in with my Aqua de Jo and it's blasting everybody, that actually interferes. And he said, don't put your feet on the console. That's a killer. Oh yeah, feet on the console, even drinks.
Okay, and I also don't want to see a picture of your feet on the console. I hate when I see people with their Facebook banner with their foot on a console. I will destroy you.
And the last one was he had
the person that I do that does that quite a bit.
The last thing that I remember what he said was when an artist is in the booth, as soon as they're done, say something to them, because what he said what'll happen is the artist will be done in the booth and we'll be sitting here on our phones or whatever, and the artist is sitting there not knowing whether what they did was good or they're in a box, and it can be really unnerving or whatever. But you know, that right there, don't be doing that. So anyway, I know I did a whole lot and I broke the rules, Dwayne. Go ahead, Francis. Get it.
One more. Don't whistle or hum any song while you're in a session. There's actually a reason why you never hear any music at other studios, because it actually will, and I've seen it happen where, you know, an engineer comes in not either from the facility or brought in afterwards, and someone's working on a song, they got a melody in their head, that person starts whistling or humming something and it throws them off. That was not fun to watch what happened.
You know what I thought you were going to say? You come in doing that, and I'm trying to create, and next thing you know, I've got somebody else's melody in my music because of that.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what happened. The writer went livid. Like, it just, because the guy was coming in and back and forth, wasn't really in the session, but he was coming in whistling, and it was not fun afterwards when they started. I mean, it doesn't happen often. I don't see it happen often, but that's a big thing that I know that I've personally witnessed.
And producers who want to be slick, that's how you introduce a melody to somebody who's frustrated. You come up with a melody and have them think they did it.
Yep.
So go ahead, Dwayne. What was your question?
My question was going off of essentially, I can't remember who said, do not leave early. How important to the interns? Question. Staying late. How do you make sure that you don't burn yourself out? Or arriving early, because I've seen a lot of interns they'll start off great the first month, and then that second month you're like showing up a little late. Like, it's not much. It's a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes here and there. How do you? Is it just an alarm thing? Is it that passion that we talked about earlier? Could you broach that at all? Because I see that as a major tripping point, as small as it is.
Are you asking how does an intern keep from doing that, or how do we keep them from doing that?
Both.
If Kenneth has to be here at 10, I would tell him to be here at 9:30. We have this thing called CP time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I actually ask people to show up earlier than what they need to be, so that there's a cushion. Because even I'm horrible at that. I show up late. If I'll set a time knowing that I'm going to be late on that time, or like if any of my loved ones want me to be there on time, they know. You know, go ahead and lie to me and tell me. You know, I'm cool with that. But that's how I do it.
Anyone else? Intern?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Or else want to take it?
No, I just say I stayed late by taking ear breaks. Basically just going outside and just listening to the ambience of outside. Just take an ear break, drink a beer, do some social. I say do social networking because we don't do any while we're tracking. So I'll go 12, 15 hours without ever touching. Sometimes, usually people see me on Facebook, it's before 10 a.m. or 11, because we usually start at 11 and go until 11. But taking ear breaks, man, was beneficial for me to go outside, hug a tree, and be like, wow, this is what regular people are doing right now. Because it does get daunting when you listen to the same song over and over for 8 hours. It's kind of weird. It is weird. We're weird people for doing that. We're crazies. We're weird.
Relationships are created in the battle. So whoever's staying late with me, there's a lot that's demonstrated in that, and there's bonds that happen. And the worst crap that we go through, and that they stick with me and fight it out, the more the stronger the bond. Because I've had situations where everyone left, and it was me and this one person in the studio. We had 10. It was a nice facility. We had 10. It ended up being me and this one person behind the console that I knew nothing about, and we were the only people there at the end of the night. Everybody else had went out and partied. We had VIP at this club thing. Everybody else went. Me and that person stayed. And from that moment on, I knew that that person was a trooper, had my back. I could call them into a situation, and I knew what I had by my side. So
I think Love for Audio is having a 2-hour session that starts at 11, and your next session doesn't start until 6 p.m., and you stay at the studio all day long waiting for that session. That's kind of how I showed this guy that I was down to do that stuff.
You mean you could leave a studio in between? I can't even fathom that.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
And we get into this.
You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, we get into this business because we know we're not going to have a 9. We don't want a 9 to 5. I think that's the biggest thread between all of us, is that we don't want that 9 to 5. We don't want to be in that whole situation. And we know we go into this because we love what we do and we want to be there. As much as relationships, and relationships also have to be balanced, but it's a big thing to be there, because you never know when stuff happens. I know I regularly go. I can be there early and be at the studio at 3 o'clock, till 3 o'clock in the morning, and have to be there again at 8 o'clock in the morning. But that's okay with me, because I'm doing what I love. Damn, they're paying me to do what I love, and even as an intern, like, you love it so much, and it's the whole honeymoon phase, but that's where people get weeded out. The long hours are part of it, because I mean, even when you're working with international artists, they're on a whole different time zone than you are. So you have to know going into it that you're going to be dealing with that. And I think getting there early. I mean, I'm Mexican, so I call it Mexican time. We're always like an hour late for everything. So that's definitely something that I have to overcome. So the studio that I work at is an hour away from where I live, and so it's a 2-hour drive every day. So I know in my mind, automatically I have to be at least an hour and a half out the door. If I'm any later than that, I'm not going to make it. And I think the biggest thing, and technology is a great thing, and you can get Google alerts and and stuff like that. There's so much stuff now that will keep you on time, that if you're not on time, you got a serious issue. that's just what it is. I mean, you have to be. I know one of my teachers always said that this industry is about being hired and fired, and that's a fireable thing. You're costing someone. I know on one session we had a string date for a live DVD that we were doing, and essentially one of the musicians didn't show up, and it was costing them like somewhere around like $10 grand a freaking hour or something like that. Just for the musician to sit there, plus the studio, plus the engineer. It's just the amount of money that goes into some of these sessions is unfathomable at some point. But and that's what you have to be aware of, is that you're costing someone money if you're going to be that late. And you just can't do that. If you can't afford to set up the session for an hour, don't be late. That's just what it is.
All right.
I want to work in those sessions.
If I could bring it around full circle a little bit, I already talked about what not to do. I would like to know what to do, but in a sense of tangible things, just not internal. What actions can someone do to make them, once they get the internship, do this exact thing. Just not shut up and be quiet. You've talked about that. I mean, like, they see something and they should do this because
it needs to be done.
Yeah, I've built stronger relationships in the first hour before the sessions. You know, we're gigging for 4 hours. I'll be out in the parking lot waiting for the guitar or the bass player to show up because I know his amp is damn heavy, and I'm going to help him carry it in. And by doing that and then staying late and helping him carry the dang amp to the car, I built more relationships within the 30 minutes before and the 30 minutes after than I have during the whole 4 hours of the gig.
I like setting mic heights, cleaning the pop filters, getting water, asking if they want to hear anything on iTunes real quick so that we can prepare our ears. Like, hey, what's your song? What do you think your song sounds like? Oh, it sounds like Schoolboy Q. Let's load up some Schoolboy Q and check that out real quick. Boom. All right, right on. I try to keep them. I try to get them excited. I just try to make sure they're excited when they get there. Like, man, I'm so glad to see you guys. Let me get this mic set up for you. You guys need some water or anything? You need a food run? You want to use the computer? What do you want to smoke weed? What is it you want to do? Whatever it is you want to do, you do that. Get excited. Give me the files. I'm going to tempo map this beat, play some references, and I'm ready to go as soon as you tell me to go.
If I'm working with Max, after a while, I should be able to start anticipating. You know, there's a bunch of stuff that ends up repeating, and even
myself.
Huh?
I said it's usually me repeating myself because I'm senile.
You know how you see the movies where, or you see a cartoon or something where the husband goes, "Hun, and the wife just hands it to him, and hun, could you? And she just like already has it prepared. That type of thing. After a while, you should.
That I should.
No. Yeah. But the whole mentality of simply sitting back, keeping your eyes open, and seeing what, like, if you could see, if as an intern, if I'm just picturing me having an intern and things I've done, like when I was in the military, that even when I was in charge, I did this. I would sit back and look, and it's like, okay, I know this person is going to need to do that. If it can be done right now, I would simply go and do it. And I would be sitting there. It's like if you just watch, if you just stop and watch and listen, you'll pick up a whole lot of stuff. Like Ghost Webb might say, man, I haven't eaten since early this morning. And then you just go get the guy food. And he turns around, he's like, oh, shit, bruh, thank you. How much do I owe? Yeah. You know, you just listen and watch, and you'll pick up information on stuff. What's that? Food? Oh, okay.
Hey, if anyone wants to drop some pizza at my house, that'd be great.
That is, man, that food and drink is like one of the biggest things. Our guys looked so broken poor when they did a I was like videotaping what we were doing, and one of the guys picked up an empty pizza box from the day before and said, "We need food. We are so hungry." I'm like, man, what the hell is wrong with you? You know, man, he made us look so ghetto and hungry. You know what, bro? Here, go get some food. Like, but that's a reality. You're in the studio for a long time, and things like that really pay off. But anyway,
I found that giving people a green apple because it has pectin helps eliminate a lot of their lip smacking and stuff. It's the weirdest thing. You give a guy a green apple, and it helps them overcome hurdles. It's weird.
That's awesome. That's the first I heard. That's cool.
Yeah, it has pectin in it, and you'll stop the lip smacks. So when I got guys coming in that are notorious for popping peas and plosives and stuff, give them a green apple. Someone comes in, they want to warm up their throats, I give them some tea, heat it up for them real nice. Like, here you go, here's your tea. We actually have some tea in here for a couple of our clients have their personal favorites, and they've got their own spot in the cabinet. They come in, heat up some tea for them, give them a green apple. They'd love it. It's awesome. Green apples are good.
Another thing that I do is, like, if I walked in, I keep picking you guys out at, one by one. So if I walked in on Kenneth's studio, and he has some of that gear that's sitting there, say he just bought something new, or if I notice that he isn't using something to his fullest potential, I go in and start investigating that. Because if he bought it and I get good at it, I now have brought value to his studio. So that's the thing you could do, is look for whatever's not being utilized the most. Like when Elastic Audio came out in Pro Tools, I jumped all over that, and then every studio I went into, it was an asset. So was that you, Francesco? I cut somebody off.
Yeah, no, I was just, I mean, once again, it's about giving a service, and if you have to think about that first, service first, artistic side afterwards, especially as an intern. I mean, that's just what it is. It's super important that you be of service, and if you don't know what that means, then find out, because it's super important to be there, and give them what they need. I know that the last big session that I was on, I was lucky enough to actually be able to bring 3 or 4 of my students from when I worked at the community college. And that was the one thing I said, we're going to be, as long as we're running cable, we're fine, but make sure those people have water, make sure those people have coffee, make sure be their waiter, essentially. Be their ninja waiter, because they had to be quiet as hell because they're on the actual floor. But that's what it is. I mean, you have to be there and do that.
And you said be silent. One of the best things you can be in certain situations is invisible. And some people would have a hard time with that, but reality is, if somebody's in there alone as an artist working, and they have no interferences, they're at peace, they're working their butt off, that's like a wonderful thing. And then if they allow you in and you start interfering with that, it's an issue. So you have to really assess your situation, because sometimes being invisible could really be a wonderful thing, and it can have it to where you're in sessions more and more.
There's a great video that I reference all of my interns to. I have this list of links that I've been building over the years. When I get a new set of interns, as soon as I know they got all the paperwork in, I send them off this email with my list of links. And there's a great one by, he's an engineer who teaches at Berkeley, Carl Beatty. And he's got a great video about, it's called what it takes to be a good assistant engineer, but really you can break it down to like what it takes to be a good intern. I mean, he just breaks it down real nice. I think it's on Artist House Music if you want to take a peek, but it's a good one.
Yeah, he has several videos on there. His videos kick butt.
They do.
Next question goes. Dwayne, the commentator. Dwayne's got it.
I got a lot of things.
Dwayne's good at the questions.
It's the passion.
I was worried about you today. I was like, man, Dwayne's going to go in on me. I know it.
It's the passion. I have a genuine curiosity about how everything works. We talked about the small things that you can do. This is an individual case, but this is to everybody. What have you seen that an intern went above and beyond? Can you share your experience, or is everyone going to hold back because those are trade secrets? Yeah, everyone's holding back because they're trade secrets. I'm going to go with you, Gus. I'm going to put you on the spot for this one. If not yourself, then I think you said that this is the only studio you've worked at. So yes. Maybe there's been another intern that you seem like, oh wow, he did that, or like really, really well. Like,
no, you're supposed to ask Pete.
Oh yeah, there you go. Let's switch the camera over there. Just slide it over.
Let me get Pete in here real quick. Let me grab him real quick.
All right. In the meantime, we're going over to Max's studio.
Nah. I was still in construction mode, and I was looking for an intern position, and I was real close to the end, and it was actually pretty amazing to me. Like I said, we were putting up some fabric, and we were still putting up wood and everything else in the tracking room, and I got ready for the next board, and I reached down to grab a drill, and because we were having to do some countersinking on the screws, and I'd been having to swap it back and forth, go from the countersink to the drill bit, countersink to drill bit, countersink to drill bit kind of thing. And I reached down, and the countersink was already ready to go. And so I, just looked at him and was like, yeah, and? It was that magic moment that somebody gets it. So, we just went on like that the whole day, and I think we managed to get, we finished off just about the entire studio that day, the entire control room that day as far as what we were trying to get accomplished, because he got it, and it was just like, I was planning on that task to take another 3 or 4 days because I'd been so used to doing it by myself, and it just floored me that somebody actually got it that well.
Okay, attentiveness.
Okay, I got Pete.
There goes. All right.
Okay,
should I ask it again, or did you fill him in?
No, I did not.
I'm just ready to rock, whatever.
Okay, the question is when has an intern, we're not calling anybody out, but we're just saying, when has an intern gone above and beyond what you expected, and what was that thing that they did? That you're just like, wow.
Well, I guess I kind of just look at it as like an overall total scenario with Ghost, so to speak, because I've had interns in the past that, number one, they just didn't have the passion at all to really take it to the next level. And I guess just overall what made me say wow and what's above and beyond, I mean, obviously the dedication, that's obvious, but just his ability to learn at a ridiculously high rate. I mean, he's only been doing this stuff for like a few years, right? But he's like at a very, very high level. And so the ability to learn at a quick rate, I only have to tell him something 1 or 2 times, or he can witness it one time and somehow miraculously self-study it and come back and enhance it. So I think that's adding value right there. So that's what's amazing to me. And that's an intern that could take even little pieces of data and extrapolate even more out of it. I might only be able to tell him something real quick because it's real time with the customer, so I might not be able to sit here and explain it to him. You know what I'm saying? I can only quickly do it in real time, and then he'll ask a question after the session. Hey, I know you showed me something, but I know you were in the process with the customer, so you couldn't really explain it. Could you explain it to me now? Oh yeah, for sure. Boom, 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 or whatever. Or he might surprise me and go, hey, actually, when I went to go take a water break, I actually just looked that up, and now I have some questions about it. You know what I mean? Just the forefront, thinking ahead of the game, I guess is what I'm saying.
Attentiveness.
Attentiveness.
Yeah, you're looking for.
Activeness.
And Kenneth, did you have anything to share there? I see you nodding along.
Real word.
I kind of have to echo what my man just said. Just somebody who's, I think Beatty said it best, somebody who's got a radar that either meets or exceeds that of the engineer or whoever's in the room. They're just their radar is constantly on. They're seeing everything. They're checking everything out. And before like Max said, you go to do something and it's there. I mean, that's like, it's magic. It's like magic. But, I mean, it's amazing when it does happen.
So they just have to anticipate, and the way they would know what to do is just, I'm trying to sign up here, is the relationship that you build over time.
Yeah, keep your eyes open, your ears open, just absorb. Keep your radar on. Keep your radar always operating.
The new value. You know what's awesome? I'm random, spastic. I don't want to interrupt before I forget to tell everybody, but you've probably already seen it. You guys have been doing this so much longer. The Art of Mixing by David Gibson. I suggest watch that.
Oh, yeah.
That is the one. It is the 1 and the 2. Like, there's not even a second place. It's the 1 and the 2. Just everything, the way he puts mixing, especially you, Trevor. You got to watch this guy's videos, man. It's colorful, and he shows how, it's how basic it is. It's pan and volume. Pretty much it. That's it. You got volume and pans, and that's pretty much it. And he just breaks it down and demystifies it. It's very visual. I suggest you watch that video. You will absolutely love it. It'll change.
I've heard of it actually. I just need to go watch it now. Now that you really
sick. I watch it every day. Every day I go home and I watch it. I'll fast forward to the parts that I want to get a little bit more like, wow, he was really talking about how you can use delay to push something forward as well as pull something back, because traditionally reverb pulls things back, and this guy just demystifies, you know, the milliseconds and samples and how, you know, this setting turns it into a delay, this setting turns it into a reverb, and it's just crazy. I had to get that out. I'm a real spaz, but I wanted you to hear that so that you can check that out.
I'll probably definitely, when I go home today, I'll probably definitely bookmark it and go ahead and get started.
Send me the link.
Yeah, throw it up on YouTube. Just David Gibson, The Art of Mixing. It's
I'll put that in the students as well under the in the comments, so people can see that.
Absolutely love
it. And I had a question. Since we have the experienced award-winning Ghost, and we have Trevor, was it right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Both different spectrums of that internship. Trevor, you're in your infancy, and Ghost with the experience. Ghost, and Trevor, I want you to listen up really carefully here. Ghost, is there anything that you would tell your younger self now that you've been through the process of veneering? Like, hey, I wish I did this better, or I should have done this then. Can it be quantified like that, or is it just every experience is different and you can't really say that?
I wish I honestly wish I had focused more in the beginning on dealing with customers and trying to actually listen to what they're telling me. That's what I wish. That's my biggest thing that I want to work on with myself even right now, because with the lack of actual experiences for years-wise, is how to talk to customers and listen to what they're saying and not. I wish I wasn't in the beginning so honest. Brutally honest is bad. In the beginning, I was really brutally honest, and I wish I had never been so brutally honest to some people, because you can never take that back.
Is it brutally honest? I don't think it would be out of intent. Is it just because you didn't know the terminology to explain, so you only knew what you had experienced?
I was really mad at music when I got in this business, because I felt like it was all the people doing music. It was their fault that music was sucking. And I didn't want to be that guy to let somebody do a bad take and just accept it. So I would just tell people, no, man, that's not him. That's horrible. That's not him. That's horrible. Come on. You want to do this thing right. This isn't it. I would never listen to this song. I actually told somebody, I will never listen to this song. I will never recommend anyone to this song, because it doesn't sound like a song. It sounds like you're trying to get a song done so you can go out tonight and pick up on chicks. I mean, it was true, but I just wish I had better tact in the beginning.
What was your turning point? Max is laughing over there. What was your turning point?
My turning point is I had overheard a client was talking to Pete and said, hey, man, I really like Ghost. He's awesome. He's fast. He gets all this stuff done, but he makes me uncomfortable because I'm still learning how to do this, and he reminds me of how much I don't know whenever I go in the booth. And that's when I was kind of like, damn, I'm not really doing this the right way. And I started looking at it differently, like, what is my job? I'm just an engineer. I shouldn't be trying to produce this song. I don't even know how to produce a song. And
it sounds like, and then?
Sorry to interrupt you. So, Ghost, what you're pretty much saying, the way I'm perceiving it, is stay open to a different person's perception of things. Stay open to and be receptive to any different personality that comes through. Is that what you're kind of saying? Always be open.
Yes. Some people are going to be aggressive to you, man. It's going to happen. Like, there's people that have came in and they're just like, here's what I want. I want you to load this right now. I want a real-time reverb. I want a real-time delay in my headphones, and they don't want to wait for it. They run it back. I want that punched right now. And then they're like, go to this word. And at first you're kind of like, well, I don't know where that word is. It's your song, but what it came down to, I just wasn't listening to the song when I was recording. So definitely listening a lot more. I wish I had listened a lot more, because some of those clients in the beginning, I formed an opinion of me with them that'll never go away. And I wish I hadn't have done that, because I like everybody, and I feel like now I'm like, man, my craft, I would really be upset if someone just beat me over the head and they're like, dude, your mix is horrible. So yeah, definitely that's what I wish I could have changed.
Okay.
My tact. It's okay to tell somebody, I don't think that's it's okay to say, I don't think that's him. I think you got a better take, and You know, maybe show them, well, here's the note, you know, hit the note on the keyboard, and I think this is the one you're looking for. But, man, I used to be like, no, that's not him, man. It doesn't even sound like you practiced this. It doesn't sound like you care at all.
And that's another thing. I've already had an experience with that, and I even told Max this. I've already ran into 3 or 4 different bands that he's worked with. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I've worked with different bands, and I had to, I know. Here comes the truth. But working with the different groups that he's brought in, you know, I listen to different genres and stuff, but I'd never listened to these types of groups before. So when I first heard them tracking, I'm like, at first it wasn't appealing to my ears. It was like, okay, what does he see in these guys? You know, what is his thought process? He works with you guys. And the more and more I sat in on sessions, and more I listened to the lyrics, I listened to the music, I listened to how they talked about the meaning and feeling behind it, and I'm like, okay, now it's starting to click. Now I know why he works with these guys, because you know, and then
Their checks are good. Their checks are good.
Well, probably that too, but I definitely, and then I got to sit down and talk with the artists themselves, because I told myself, stay out of the way, you know, just learn, absorb it. We talked about this earlier. But the guys would come up to talk to me, and I talked to them like, you know, I really like that song. You know, I said, where'd your ideas come from? And they tell me, and it was just a completely different perspective. And then after that day 4, I told myself, you should always walk in to the studio with a level head and expect anything, and be ready for anything, and be able to accept anything.
Yeah.
So,
dude, we primarily track a lot of hip hop and rap and R&B, and we track a lot of other stuff. But the first time, I'm not a bluegrass fan, and so we had tracked some bluegrass guys that came in, and when I've heard these guys talking, I actually respected them more than most of my other clients, because their depth in music theory was just something I'd never heard before. They're talking about transposing. I'm going to lead in with a G, then I'm going to go into the relative for about 4 measures. I should transpose this, and then they was something I had never heard. I thought, you know, bluegrass guys were just getting together and jamming, but these guys this was something I had never heard. I just learned to respect the music for what these guys, no matter what it sounds like, man, there's somebody playing some awesome chord changes there.
You gotta work with me in hip hop, because I'm doing transposing all the time. And to that effect, what I'm getting from the both of you, and from my own experience, is that interns need to appreciate that it's kind of like a basketball coach mentality when it comes to dealing with clients. You're gonna have rookies, you're gonna have veterans, and they're all gonna be on the same plane, playing together sometimes, or it's separate. But you need to respect everybody as if they were a veteran, because that's what the growth is going to be. That's what you're aiming for. Even in your own position, treat yourself with respect, and you'll end up growing as a better intern. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, very fair.
I mean, I think that would definitely be some advice I'll definitely take in consideration as I move forward, for sure.
Hey, Ma, you still around? No, he's probably eating. Every time he goes off, he's probably eating. Hey, Bill, welcome back.
Thank you.
Did you have a question did you want to throw in here?
None at this moment, thanks.
All right, well, thanks for trying so hard. And Matt's eating. I knew he was eating every time.
Why you interrupting food, man?
Yes.
I forget who said it. Since you're interrupting my food, you knew I was eating. Lyric sheet. When these artists come in, if you just have them give you a lyric sheet and they say, go to this word, you know, that helps out big time. And I didn't even, I did not care about lyric sheets until I ran into issues like whoever it was that was talking about that. Ghost, was that you?
Oh, yeah, they should learn it before they get there.
Oh, yeah, that too. But, like, when I have a lyric sheet in front of me and they say go to this word, you know, I then have a clue. Because I have sat there listening to guys rapping, and to be honest, I had no clue what they were rapping about. Didn't even care. It was the most, a lot of times some stuff is just complete nonsense. And I don't even care. Like, it's not that I don't care about the craft, but some stuff that people are saying is just garbage. Yeah. And so I try to help them and I try to service them, but as far as understanding what they're saying, I'm cool.
Yeah. I always just get them by saying, hey, I don't even know what this sounds like yet. We just recorded this vocal. Maybe we should just play this from the top. Maybe there's more than one word in there that we need to look at. And they usually seem to receive that pretty well.
Yeah, the other thing that I run into is a lot of the times, I'm working, I'm pretty much working without a net. They don't send me anything, in pre-production. Again, I'm not the producer, I'm the engineer who ends up having to help, somewhat with production. But when you don't have a lyric sheet, it can get you in trouble because me as a when I'm in my tracking mode, when I'm in engineer mode, for me, I'm listening for the correct note. I'm listening for overages. I'm listening for something to get too soft. I'm listening to the vocal as just like I would an instrument. I'm not concentrating on those vocals. What did you say? The lyrics just don't mean anything to me at that point.
Yeah, if you're going in listening for distortion and setting everything up, and somebody asks you, or if they say, hey, go to this word, and you haven't even thought about that word. I got sound I'm trying to make sure is right. Yeah, exactly.
And then I remind myself, hey, stupid, focus.
I did have one question, if I could.
Go ahead, Bill.
About 2 weeks ago, I've been doing, for the last 6-7 years, I've been doing a lot of country and southern rock and that. 2 weeks ago, I got my first hip-hop client, and it kind of threw me because I wasn't really sure exactly what I'm supposed to be listening for and what is expected, and I know in some of it there's the language is different. I was just kind of thrown, and like for about a week I kind of studied. I was just wondering if anybody had anything to throw in on.
Hey, Bill. Okay, I do hip hop, right? And this is what I do, bro. Well, first off, as far as understanding what they're saying, I'm from that culture, and these guys come in with new words for me all the time. All the time. Like, they have the word thought, and I had no clue what they were saying, and everybody was saying thought. And I ended up writing lyrics where the lyrics were "Your girl's a thought." That was the hook. But I had to actually ask what that meant. But anyway, what I do is I don't go by my judgment when I'm dealing with rappers that I'm not producing. I ask them. I have somebody. I find out who is the person who is going to have the final say and who's the good judge, and I have them tell me whether or not it's good. Like when I do a vocal take, I'll have them do. I'll say spit your verse 3 times, or while you're rapping, be 4 inches away, 6 inches away, 8 inches away, or up to a foot away, like 3 different distances, and then come into the control room, tell me which one you like the best without me touching anything, and whichever one they say that fits in the mix immediately, because they often bring in 2 tracks, we use that distance, and then when we record, I have them come out and check it themselves and make sure. I do a lot of checking where I have them tell me whether it's good, because I'll say something is what they call booty, which is crap, and then they'll say, no, that's dope. And I'm like, okay. So everybody's opinion varies so much that's how I survive it. And when they walk out, if they are like cheesing, happy as hell, like, man, that's how I know I've won. And there are plenty of songs where guys, like, their opinion is just different than mine, but they walk out happy as hell because I gave them what they wanted. To hell with my whatever I thought. If they want more low end, I'll give them more low end. If I care enough, I'll give them a secondary mix that I'll send off to them later just in case. my version just in case, which might save their butts. Like if it gets played in the club on the radio, my version might save their butts. But that's how I do it. But I'll have a person sit next to me when I'm mixing, and they'll help me make judgments, which a lot of people can't stand doing that.
What I ended up doing is calling my kids. My son is into it, and I told him, you know, come on over. I need you to listen to something for me. Because, you know, like you were saying, you know, you can get a reference track and listen to it, and but, you know, understanding the language, you know, like when I was a kid, comprehension was a big problem of mine, reading. And sometimes that one word would throw the whole paragraph off, and until I understood that word, I didn't understand what the paragraph was all about. Well, this comes into the same thing as far as understanding the language. And, you know, I've still got a lot of work to do on it.
You'll find out that if you engage, like when I have the guy sit next to me and I have a question about something, some of the guys are quite articulate about what they're saying and why. Like they can really go into it. You'll be surprised sometimes. And then some people are just spitting ignorant crap and just, you know, it's hip hop, you know. What were we about to say, Ghost?
I was just going to suggest to Bill, you know, I like to trick a client. I'll ask them who they think the song sounds like, and then we'll play it on iTunes, and then I'll keep referencing that iTunes song, and then we'll get, if we, you know, get it close to that, because if that's who they think is hot and that's what they think it is, then that's perfect for me, because that's awesome. I'll just play the iTunes reference. First, I like to do that first, and it shows them the 2-track, and then it's like, wow, we're kind of far away, but we're going to see what we can do. We're going to try to pull this out. We always mix the beat first. We don't want them to go in the booth unless the beat is done, because most of the guys want to come out when the vocal's done. It should already be hot to them. But yeah, iTunes reference, pull up some, ask them, hey, who do you think this song sounds like? Who are you listening to right now? I'm listening to this guy. Play it on iTunes, and then just try to get close to that. Listen to the vocals. Like, what are the vocals doing in this song? Oh, what's the reverb? Oh, he's pushed back. He's pushed forward. You'll never lose if you do that.
I appreciate it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, you'll never lose. We reference, like, with the folk music stuff, we're, like, when we find out we got a folk session, we're listening to a lot of folk music before the guys get here. And we ask them who they like, and we listen to who they like. And if we try to emulate that, they're going to be like, oh, my God, it sounds just like blah, 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 blah. And we're like, I know, isn't that weird? And then they're just like, yeah.
I love iTunes. I love iTunes for that top 10 list. I go through that like before our session. It's the greatest thing.
Yeah.
I have one final question for you, Ghost.
Yes, sir.
And it is, outside of the studio, what passion do you have? Just want to know about you as a person. What recharges you?
I'm a video gamer, man.
I love Call of Duty. Xbox or PlayStation?
Xbox 360 for shooters, and
Nice.
PlayStation for like the Batman and Questy games and Grand Theft Autos and stuff like that. I love video games. It's a way for me to do something that my kids like to do, and it keeps me on a level with them. But we pulled off the video games lately. I like to shoot guns. I like guns and stuff like that. I'm a weirdo, man.
And how important to you is that family life when it comes to recharging for studio?
It's the most important thing that I have going, because it's the only thing that reminds me of where the real world really is. Because you know how it is when you're in the studio all day. We're not in the real world. We're in a different world. We're in a world. Everybody thinks we're just surrounded by piles of cocaine and money and strippers, and that's cool. I'm not saying that wouldn't be cool, but
Wait. You guys don't have the mirrors on the consoles?
Not yet. So when I go home, it's kind of like, this is cool. This is my family. Women aren't bad. All hoes aren't necessarily not loyal, and you know what I mean. I go home and I get to hang out with my wife and my kids, and I'm reminded that there is normalcy out there. People like to drink beer and do stupid stuff, and they like to watch stuff on TV, and they like to talk politics, and it's not always about music, and that's what my family life is. I wouldn't be here without my family, to be honest, because I do this so that my kids, you know, my son, he's a good kid, man, but this guy,
I'm telling you, this guy, he doesn't like authority. If I don't teach him how to do music, he's in the 6th grade right now. If I don't teach him how to do music, he's going to have a problem. So music is me trying to pave something for my kids to say that you can sacrifice time with your family, and it's okay, because you're going to have your own families, and you're going to have something to fall back on. That's I don't know. My drive is just to show my kids more than me that it's okay to dedicate your whole life to something, because your whole life is only a short grain in the whole big beach. It's one piece of grain in the whole beach. So family life's super important for me, man.
Yeah, lovely answer. Okay.
For those who didn't catch it, hold on. For those who didn't catch it, he was referencing a song, "These Hoes Ain't Loyal."
Yeah.
He was saying that all women are not bad. That song is not, real life. Come on now. So.
But yeah, the family life is good, man, because without the family life, I would probably try to be out there going to clubs and blowing my money and doing a bunch of drugs and doing stupid stuff. If you don't have a family, you don't have a good cornerstone, you probably don't have a good house to live in.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, it's a big thing. You have to remove yourself. Obviously, I'm at home right now. A couple of you probably noticed that my kid was opening and closing the blinds back there. And as much as I love being in the studio, you definitely have to take that time to be here and be with them. And obviously, right now I'm not with them completely because I'm here. But it's you have to pull away. Like, it can become so all-encompassing. It can just take over your life, and it can be just what you're doing. And you have to really. I know with a lot of the engineers that I've worked with and that are really big engineers, a lot of them have put their studio in their homes because they have that connection, because they would be sitting at their studio until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and have to wake up at 5, 6, 7 o'clock to go back and do it again at another place, and they miss out a lot when it's coming to their family. So I think that for me personally, I being able to do a lot of freelance work and not having a studio of my own has been. I used to have one, and now I don't, because I decided that I wanted to be more here than I am anywhere else. But I got to pay the bills, and so it is definitely very important to strike a good balance between your home life and, even if you don't have kids. I mean, even if it's if it's you being single, it's giving yourself the time for yourself, because if you don't, then you're just it's gonna consume you, and then you become this whole studio rat, and you start looking like Gollum and saying precious and stuff like that, and then we're all in trouble. But yeah, it's super important. Because it can be so crazy out there. Yeah.
For me, it's family life's important, but getting away from the studio is like hitting the snooze button. Just 5 more minutes. And sometimes,
Everybody's fighting to get into the studio. I'm just fighting to go home. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to go home. Like, people want to come in here. I'm like, no, man. You don't want to do this. Tomorrow is better. But I do it anyways. I don't know.
Ghost has a session starting in about 20 minutes or less. You leave whenever it's time for you to leave, Ghost. Go ahead. I just want to say thank you. It's much appreciated that you've taken the time out. Actually, all of you. But thank you for being the guest host. The guest ghost. Anybody else? I just drew a blank. We call it a brain fart in the military. I just went totally blank right there. Anybody else before he leaves want to say anything?
I do.
I want to thank you, Matt, for having it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome, bro. Yeah, man, you guys know me. But okay, who else had a question for Ghost? So go ahead, Trevor.
Well, I just wanted to thank all you guys for giving me all your advice. Really appreciate it.
Well, sure, you'll thank them.
Well, really? Anyways, but I want to thank all you guys for your advice. I really appreciate it. I will definitely take all of what you all have taught me into consideration, especially Ghosts. Good luck with your session this afternoon, evening. It's great talking to you. Congratulations on your award. That's awesome.
What are you, Pro Tools or Logic?
Pro Tools.
Slow Tools.
Everybody loves the Pro Tools, man. I have to try it. Huh?
I never said I loved it.
I guess if you like waiting for your bounce outs and not being able to do stuff in real time, Pro Tools is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, we use an awful lot of I/O. You know, we're sitting here with about 140 channels of external hardware. So, you know, even if we were using Logic, we'd still have to do the long bounce.
You're doing very awesome stuff. That's why. We've been using Logic and doing a lot of striping lately, and I love it. I like striping stuff. But you know why people don't like Logic? You know, you have to go inside the environment window in Logic and actually create a real bus. It doesn't exist. The aux is nothing. It's just another channel that sends to another channel when you really look at it technically, because if you try to stripe an aux in Logic, it won't stripe it with all the effects.
It's true.
Yeah.
Has anybody tried Harrison Mixbus?
No.
I may very well be pretty soon.
Oh, I love it.
Kenneth is shaking his head, but he's not unmuting and talking.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I dig it.
What's so good? Wait, real quick. Bus, how long? Ghost, how long do you have?
I got some time. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I'm digging Mixed Bus. I mean, there are a few things about it that are a little bit, offbeat. Like, for example, stuff like, getting your control surface to work with it and things like that. But the sound of it, there's just something about the sound of Mixed Bus. And, a lot of people I know are tracking in, Pro Tools, Logic, what have you, and then they're actually doing their mix downs in Mixed Bus. So, I liken DAWs to hammers. Some guys like Stanley, some guys like Craftsman, some guys like this, some guys like that. It's all about what fits your hand the best. I like them all, because they all do the same thing. But there's something about each one of them that gives it something. So that's why I like to have them all. But Mixed Bus is cool.
But what's nice I like about it, it's just like working on a large console.
Right, exactly.
Okay, now, who else has guns in case I need to come to your studio and take something? Just see the hands back there. I guarantee that everyone who thought about robbing you guys, when you said you like guns, it's like, damn. It changed the whole perspective.
Wait, people are trying to rob us? What the hell? What kind of people do we have on here?
We work with some clients that are they're a little interesting guys, but they got deep pockets and they're very popular in the rap music world, and we got to keep a couple guns around the studio whenever they're in here, just in case,
Did you ever see the video where Dave Pensado was talking about he was leaving the studio and two guys were arguing with guns pointed like this, and he walked in between the guns, said goodnight, fellas, didn't even catch that they had guns pointed at each other?
Wow.
You guys ever see that video?
No.
It's crazy. Real quick, striping. Explain what striping is.
It's internally bouncing to another track. So basically sending the audio that you have as a bounce to a track inside of the DAW without bouncing it out and trying to re-import it. You're bypassing the output bus, basically. I'm hearing different things about, you're bypassing the float point. The master bus is going to do its own bit conversion when it hits the master bus. So this is supposed to allow you to turn the audio into the maximum amount of headroom while retaining all of the effects. I don't know.
Okay.
I know it sounds better in Logic, though. If you create you got to go in the environment, create the real bus. I actually been doing that lately. Get the mix where I like it, and then I stripe the effects bus, the drum bus, and the voc bus, and now I just import those into a new session with 3 pieces of audio, and then I take those 3 pieces of audio, and then I say, cool, those were cool enough to bounce, but now maybe they're not. Now I have 3 pieces of audio that I need to glue together. It just seems to give me a lot more. Everything sounds better. There's less latency. You got a bunch of CLAs plugged in and a whole bunch of stuff going. Things get a little latent.
Even in Logic.
I gotta go. You guys take care of Ghost. Good luck with your session now.
It seems like it does.
It seems like it has a different. It seems a little different. Like we pull stuff up and analyze it with oscilloscopes and stuff, and you can definitely see a difference in the waveforms when you're zooming in on these things. There's a difference when you stripe the audio. You stripe the audio and then rebounce it with like just to throw an L1 on there. You don't even want to touch it, and then bounce it without striping it, and those two pieces of audio look completely different. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Okay, I'm sure there's a good reason. Which
I don't know what it is. I'm trying to find it. Dave Pensado is what got me thinking that, because apparently that's what he likes to do, is he gets his mix, then stripes that mix, and then takes that file, and now he has that file to do the bounce on. I guess it just eliminates too many things from happening at one time, because the computer can only process, I mean, of course, they say it can process all this stuff, but I guess you're minimizing the amount of thinking the computer has to do when it's dealing with only 3 pieces of audio and maybe 2 or 3 pieces of 2 or 3 plugins and a limiter. It has a lot less to think about.
Right, I have done that, where that right there, bogging down the CPU less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Did anybody else have any questions for Ghost? Did you have any questions for us, Ghost?
When did you get started in this? How long have you been doing music?
Since 1990, but I was on 4-track Tascam. I didn't start learning things like Pro Tools until like about 1999. 1999, 2000, an instructor at Fresno City said, I asked him, what should I do? Should I buy this little Tascam desk thingy that was everything in one? And he said, no, bro, go computers. So I went out and spent $13,000. I put about Waves Diamond Bundle. I walked into Guitar Center, said, what are the pros using? I said, well, just the top pros. He said, Waves Diamond Bundle. Waves. So I said, give me the top bundle. It was like $3,600, and it was everything that they had at that time. So, and it was a native. I bought that. Had no clue about any of that stuff. I bought Pro Tools, a brand new computer, and then I went at it and I started buying tutorials. Groove3.com, Kenny Joya was a savior, and then there's a bunch of other websites also. Like there's like 5 websites. I was buying everything and experimenting. And so I'm not actually taught by anybody. I experimented my butt off and took these videos and then came up with my own stuff.
And how about you, Francisco?
Sorry, it's auto-tuning. I've been, well, my dad was an engineer, a live engineer, and I've always kind of been around it. Engineer, technician. Truthfully, I went to schools, which is back 10 years ago, and I've been, I would say professionally, I would say the past 4 years where I've gotten paid and working for different people and getting credits and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much my story.
Nice. And you, Kenneth?
Well, I started by being one of those kids that used to like to take stuff apart and basically gravitated to audio. Got into DJing around the time of when hip hop was starting to get started. And then I decided I wanted to make recordings rather than just play them back. So I got into that, and I've been working. Actually, I went to the community college where I went through the courses, and I'm like the student that never left, because the guy who I used to intern for has now been my boss for actually he's retiring this year, but I've been there 26 years.
Wow.
So that's it's been a nice ride.
And last but not least.
Oh, you talking to me?
Yes, sir, Max.
I hate to kind of bore everybody with this story again, but basically I've started playing music, age 4, age 5, played semi-professionally and professionally, gosh, probably close to 40 years now. And then I won't go into the whole insanity, but got back into music and recording quite by accident, and started out slowly but surely getting gear acquisition syndrome, and the passion expanded and expanded and expanded, and I've just been crazy enough to hemorrhage cash now for I started out doing really remote recording right at 20 years ago, and had this shop open now for about I'm in my 4th year now.
Wow, there's 100 years of experience in this group right now. That's awesome.
Yeah, a bunch of old farts.
Well, hopefully I can bend your guys' ear someday, and you can drop a golden nugget on me that might benefit me. And if I can ever do the same, I mean, I doubt it. 100 years of experience amongst you guys, I'm definitely I'm only shining because of the light that's on you guys right now, and I appreciate you guys wanting to talk to me.
No, congratulations on your win, man. It's super amazing to see the kind of work that goes into it, and see that the people like us, I mean, because we're all in the same boat. I mean, you talk about 100 years, we're all on the same boat, we're all on the same level when it comes to what we're doing and what we want to do. And it's great to see that Dave and Herb and all of them over there have taken the time to actually recognize, because they know they've been there like us. So I congratulations, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you, and I'd love to talk to you and when we get a chance a little bit later.
Sure. Yeah, I love meeting you guys, man. You guys are awesome.
You notice Francisco's working, right? He's over there. He's multitasking. Who do you work for, Francisco?
I work for an engineer. Oh, I work for a couple different engineers. The main one that I work for is Rafa Sardina. He's a 12-time Grammy winner. Mostly on the Latin pop side. Our last the last U.S. album that we did was Wise Up Ghost, which is Elvis Costello and the Roots album. We did a bunch of string stuff for that, and right now we're working on a couple live DVDs for a couple Latin artists, and I can't speak about those yet, but it's some good stuff. If you guys have a chance, check out Ilya Kuriaki and the Valderramas. That was a really good album named Chances, which is one of my favorite ones that I've worked on so far. That was with him. So that's and like I said, a couple other engineers. I'm a freelancer, so whoever will pay me is who I'll go for, and whoever will let me sit in their studio for a bit is who I'll work with. I mean, that's essentially creating relationships is a big thing, and I whenever I get a chance, if I could tug on someone's ear and listen to what they do, and I definitely take advantage of that.
I'd like to work with Raphael Sadiq someday if I ever could. So I'd like to work with Raphael Sadiq someday if I ever could.
Actually, I just got beat out. We were one of the guys that I worked for was going to work on the Maya Rudolph show, and Raphael Sadiq got the gig instead of him. So I was this close from getting that gig. But they're doing a great job over there. It's so and Raphael's he's awesome.
He's an excellent musician. Okay, guys, I got a client. Pesky little buggers, but they want to pay us to do some cool stuff.
Nothing wrong with that.
Thank you for your time, bro. Go ahead and handle your business. Catch you later. All right, real quick, fellas. We have some of the posts going on in Pensado Students, and one of them, I'll just read a little bit of it. It's Richard Howse, Howse. If anybody goes out there, anybody watching this, just go in the Pensado Students, look up the name Richard Howse and Ken Lewis, or Richard Howse and Intern or Internship, and you'll find it. But Ken Lewis posted when we got started on one of the links on this one that dealt with internship, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, but he says, first off, right now, he says, I'm not looking for interns, so don't ask. He says, but I'll answer the question. When I look for interns, I do definitely look for schooling. My 2 staff guys here are both Berkeley guys who have been with me for a long time. They're very far from being interns at this point, but since I went to Berkeley and have had a great relationship with the top people over there, I can get an inside track to the best potential candidates. However, when I see a resume, I personally look for professionalism. I don't like resumes filled with a bunch of crap nobody cares about. 1, your home studio. 2, the mixtape you recorded or mixed or produced. 3, all the different software you think you know but don't really know. Is if you get to an interview, I'm calling you on all your resume filler. I love seeing a reliable job history. Bank teller is one of my favorites. If you can work as a bank teller, then you can be trusted around money. You've worked in a professional environment, etc. Of course, real-world experience like other internships or work experience can mean a lot, but I personally put more stock into what type of person you are. Like, are you hardworking, willing to do crappy jobs? Hey, I was an intern myself twice. Reliable, trustworthy, professional. Can I trust you around my gear, clients? And it goes on. So if you guys go in there, whoever wants that, who's watching, that's a great read. We've got plenty in there in Pensado students. All right, fellas, anything?
Well, I'm stealing that from my 2 new interns coming next month, I'll tell you that.
Oh, bruh, if you just do an intern search in Pensado students, you'll come up with several. And it's heated. Like what we did today is not heated at all. But it gets heated. It is very personal, and like if it's me and Francisco, you know, we do it gets pretty bad. Some of the stuff has been deleted. There's whole posts that are just not there. I knew they existed, and I went looking for them to post them onto the post that deals with this hangout, and they are not there. And I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, because it's good stuff. It's
why you gotta go and delete stuff? Why you gotta go delete stuff?
Yeah, I've got stuff where like I'm in debates with people, and they're calling me out on all types of stuff, and we're going at it for like hours, and people are like, man, what is wrong with you guys? But the reality is there's a ton of information flow, and if somebody doesn't want to read it, they can just unfollow. But as we're having these heated debates, there ends up being a ton of information flow. You should see some of what, say, Paul Frindle will post. It's like this dissertation, and for those who can feed off of that, it's there. And then if you can't, you'll be able to feed off of it later, or have a client who might need that. There's just some of these heated arguments. Some is just garbage, but some of that stuff, there's just so much information that flows because people get into it.
The stuff is out there. People just have to be willing to put in the time to go sort for the nuggets. You know, it's not just handed to you. You got to go get it, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Does anybody have anything else? Because we're at our, well, I never care about how long we go, actually. But if we end now, I actually get to go somewhere and, like, go to a movie or something before I actually have to handle. Huh?
I'm going to go play some pinball.
Max, you got anything?
I'm going to go eat.
Okay. Ken's going to go play pinball, and Francisco, you got anything you want to say before we head out, bro?
I think I've covered everything that I can think of. I mean, I don't have any other questions, and I just thank you guys for having me on, and you guys, whoever came on, and it was actually really interesting to go in between the auto tuning and what you guys are saying. So I learned a lot from just sitting here and listening to you guys. So thank you guys for that.
Who's the star in the room with you?
That was my intern. He came in. He was getting me. He was complaining about something. I'm about to fire him.
All right.
You need to improve those work environments.
If there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and end it.
Thank you very much, brother.
You got it, fam. All right, you guys. We're out.
All right.